And despite a review, they have decided that I was trafficking, or I'm not even going to say what it was. It's a silly ban. They've decided that I'm not getting that account back for live access. I'll still post, but it's not going to be back. For those asking, was there a live on Friday? There was not. I had a close friend unexpectedly pass away Thursday night, and so I wasn't here on Friday. So we were taking care of that over the weekend, and man, life's short. Life's short. Life has some unexpected twists and turns, and man, I was thinking about that because usually when you're at my age, I'm 38. You don't expect your friends not to be around. And then sometimes your friends are gone, and it's just a constant reminder that there's a lot of shit going on. There's a lot of things that happen every single day. There's a lot of stuff that can and does get us down, and you got one life. You got one life to live, and I guess it's just a good reminder for me to make the best out of it. I don't think we want to look at. We never know when our life's going to be done, and I think it's a good reminder to make sure that we're living our life in a way that we're not going to have regrets. So thank you guys, though. Thank you for the kind words. I appreciate the messages this weekend. It really was. It really means a lot. I think oftentimes, like if we have a live that people really like, or we, it just whenever. But oftentimes we'll get a message from somebody just saying, what that live meant to them, what the story meant to them, or whatever. And that stuff goes a long way. I hope you guys know that. It does go a long way. I was kicked out of the Discord. I wonder why. Victor Vijegas. We don't kick people out of the Discord very often. So if you did get kicked out of the Discord, you can DM me about it. I've never kicked anybody out of the Discord. I don't really, outside of joking around, but I don't really know how to do that. So if you're upset about getting kicked out of the Discord, let me know, and I'll let you know. But our Discord, our mod team tells us when they boot somebody, and it happens very, very rarely. Good morning from Gilbert. I explained it Friday. I had a friend Thursday night unexpectedly pass away, so I just took the day off on Friday. So thank you guys, though, for that. And what is Discord? Discord is an app, either on your phone or on your computer. It's like a message board. I don't know how to explain it, like live commentary. There's channels for different things. In our Discord, we have, obviously, our live chat. We've got a book club in the Discord. We have different places where you can talk about sports, travel. We have what's called Selfie Corner. I don't know what's up with Felice, by the way. Let me check on Felice. It's sports, by the way. Great day of sports yesterday. Bang, bang, Niner gang. Let me see what's up with... Oh, she said she's running 2 minutes behind. No problem. Big day for the 49ers. I hope that you guys were as happy as I was. It didn't look good. Discord's also a place mostly to mock me. You can see in there's RTP's rug. If you don't know that story, you may not hear it for a while. Detroit Lions forever. I love that. But mostly it was a place for... everybody was rooting for the Lions yesterday, except for me. I think most people to see me lose, so that worked out. Will I be talking about Jennifer Crumbly? Hey. Good morning, Felice. Who is Jennifer Crumbly? Why don't I know that name? Do you know who that is? There we go. Testimony resumes in Jennifer Crumbly's involuntary manslaughter trial. No. No, we're not. I haven't even looked at the story. I don't know anything about this story.
Who is it?
I'll look at it.
Yeah, I don't know who that is. I didn't know if you were asking me or...
It's in Oakland. Third day of testimony. Emotions have run high in the courtroom. Prosecutors show multiple messages where Crumbly's son texted her about hallucinating and seeing demons while she and her husband were riding their horses.
Sounds like that one lady from Idaho who was in Hawaii and all her children were unalive.
That's my friend Lori.
Yeah.
That's my friend Lori.
What's her last name again? Lori?
Vallow.
I was gonna say
it was Cox,
seeing demons.
She's had a few.
That's like
She's had a
anytime
few,
Mormons
yeah.
commit crimes, they just say like it was a prophecy.
I was seeing demons.
It was a prophecy, and then I had to do something horrific as a result. Valo, yeah, that's what.
Yeah. Happy Monday.
Happy Monday! It is Monday. I brought my stress ball. I'm all prepared. They gave us these at PTSD camp.
You just knew.
Yeah,
Did they? I finally watched Hell Camp, by the way.
You watched what camp?
Hell Camp?
Hell Camp.
Didn't you tell me about Hell
No,
Camp?
I told you about. We were talking about something called Jesus Camp, which is this scary documentary. What's Hell Camp? I don't know what Hell Camp is.
Oh, Hell Camp was like it was. Let me pop my.
I watched
chair
a
up
lot of
little bit.
documentaries this weekend. I watched a lot of.
Hell Camp was. It's in Utah, obviously run by a Mormon, but it was a place for like.
No, that was
teenagers
me
to go.
that told you. That was me.
Okay, that's what I thought. Yeah.
Yeah, no, but I never could watch the whole thing because I was like, I know that like, a bunch of people are going to end up dead, and I cannot watch this.
Yep, that did happen.
Yeah,
That did
I knew it.
happen.
I was like, I can't make it through this. They like march them for like hundreds of miles. I was like, no.
Yeah, so I didn't realize this when I was in probably the last scout trip I went on. We went and we did that. It's a 50-mile hike. We did that exact hike. So like I'm watching this and the same level of just like unpreparedness. We packed stuff like we packed light and they're like we're gonna camp at a different lake every night. And then they scheduled it around like when they normally stock the lake, so we would fish and we'd have fish to eat at night. Otherwise, we just had like what do you call this? MREs, like the dry food that you just add water and then MREs. So we got to the first lake and I fished for like 5 hours. It was the only part of Scouts that I liked was fishing. And then this guy came up and he's like, "Hey, catch anything?" I'm like, "No, I've tried everything in my box." He's like, "Yeah, there's no fish in here." I was like, "Yeah, they're quiet." He's like, "No, there's no fish in here. They killed off the lake." And I was like, "Oh," and they had killed off the lake on all 3 lakes we were supposed to camp at. And so our camping trip ended like the next day. They had to call all the parents. Parents had to like drive down. We were in the middle of nowhere, so they had to like somebody had to come pick up the leader and then drive and go get their cars. And that was the end of Scouts for me. But something
Yeah,
feels
I
like
could not make it through that documentary. I was sticking to like financial crime documentaries, which I finished that. No, everyone needs to watch it. I started telling you about a documentary called Bitcon, but I
watched
never.
it.
Yeah, I finished it. Like I had just started it to the point. Remember I told you about Miami Exotics? I was like, "Oh, I think I
Yeah.
rented a car from them." I was like, those were just children who were like renting Lamborghinis to people.
Yeah.
Like,
Bitcoin was great.
Well, the funniest part of Bitcoin is where it turns out like the whole time they think they're paying this like high-powered New York lawyer to like help them, with their cease and desist and all this stuff. And that was a kid who like founded the Students for Trump movement, just like an 18-year-old in a dorm room defrauding a bunch of people, defrauding a bunch of investors. Like how funny. That's hilarious.
It's exactly what you'd expect. I was trying to remember. I'm trying to find this video. Maybe it was on Twitter.
Gorilla says Biden's destroying our country. What happened this weekend to you, Gorilla? Are you?
I know he went off the rail. I got like
You got
10 messages.
brainwashed.
Yeah, I got like 10 messages of people saying that Gorilla said I was misusing a term. I can't remember what the term was, but it turns out he was actually just incorrectly quoting me and didn't know what I was talking about. I can't remember what the term was. And then I'm like, I'm just.
What's the term, Gorilla? What's your grievance? You're here early, already yelling stuff in the comments.
You can come up and talk about it, Gorilla, if you'd like.
Yeah, tell us what's your beef? 80. Oh, is it the 83.3 million?
No, Gorilla was nuts all weekend. Oh no!
Poisoning
it was poisoning
the
the well. Yeah, but we weren't talking about poisoning the well. We were
How do
talking
you
about
use that wrong?
Well, because he said we were talking about Trump saying poisoning the well, and we were talking about Trump and the guy over in Germany both using the phrase of poisoning the blood. And then I was there for like 5 minutes while Nemo tried his very best to explain what poisoning the well was to Gorilla, because Gorilla didn't understand that was a term. He thought like he.
Oh no!
I don't know.
Yeah, that's just a.
Yeah.
It's a phrase. Poison. It's an expression. It's not. You know, if you poison
can
the
explain it
drinking
before we
water.
get- Yeah, go ahead, Gorilla.
No, I wasn't making any comparisons to like what the phrase actually meant. Right.
Oh, what? Okay.
I was just
So what
making
were
the
you saying?
I
It
was
made you
just
upset.
I was just trolling and said Mein Kampf, poisoning the well, like poisoning the blood. Like nothing
Yeah.
to do with they mean the same thing. That's idiotic. That's something that Whisper thought of that or Nemo or whatever.
What were you upset about with me saying poisoning the blood? Why were you upset about that?
I wasn't upset. I was just making a correlation to anything that is sort of close to what Trump says is what Schittler says. So you guys were saying poisoning the well, and I was like, oh, poisoning the blood. Like poisoning
don't you
the well.
think-
Mein Kampf.
Don't you think if you're talking about people coming into your country and you're using the phraseology poisoning the blood of our country, that maybe that's a fair line to draw there? That we're talking about like the type of rhetoric that gets people to act crazy and talking about poisoning the blood. Don't you think that's a fair comparison to draw? It
Yes.
seems pretty fair to me.
Yeah.
And like, I don't know if you know how to use Twitter, but like I've been on Twitter all week or all weekend, and it's just a bunch of Republicans like beating it to the idea that we're going to have a civil war. Like they're so happy about it. Just threatening violence, say like loving that Texas is just like, hey, Texas is like, you know what we don't like? The Constitution. We're not going to do the Constitution anymore. And Republicans are like, yay, we're doing it.
No,
Yeah,
I mean, obviously, a civil war is a terrible idea, but it's not a good look for Biden because he can't win either way, right? If he
Here we go. No, Gorilla.
No, but hear
That's
me
not
out.
what's going on.
Hear me out. If
Okay.
he concedes and pulls back from this, then he's the paper tiger, right?
No, he already conceded, and now this is the problem with Republicans. They're too stupid. They had a win. They backed Biden into a corner, and they got a win. But you have the free dumb caucus who's too stupid to recognize when they got a win. And now everybody in the country knows that the reason we don't have a border deal is because the free dumb caucus isn't doing it. And Donald Trump's up there just telling them like, hey, don't do this. By the way, I was in mods. Here's the Republican defense from Mod and her folks. They're like, well, we understand that Laura Ingraham talked to Trump and Trump said, make sure you ask Mike Johnson this question. And then when asked, Mike Johnson's like, yeah, Trump told me this. And the Republican defense is, well, unless we hear it out of Trump's mouth, we're not believing it. So now they don't even believe like anybody. It's only we are down.
What do you mean? He talked about it at his. Am I the only person that watches Trump's rallies? He was talking about it. He said it. He's like, yeah, I said that. I said, unless it's a perfect deal, we're not going to do anything. Like, it doesn't even make any sense. What's a perfect deal? He said
all
it
you
at
need
his
is me.
own. He said it at his own rally. I'm pretty sure I have the clip.
Yeah,
All
but
you
it's
need is Donald
dead on
Trump. Just
arrival.
put it back. It's
not
dead on
perfect.
arrival because of the free dumb caucus.
No, it's dead on arrival because it's approving 5,000 illegals per day, which is 1.8 million.
No, it's not.
And then-
That's not.
Yes,
You don't
it's
even
not.
understand what it is.
Yes,
you
and 50,000 more green
Gorilla,
cards.
stop talking
It's
about
a
something
whole
you don't
numbers
understand.
thing.
Oh, here's Gorilla. Here it is. Here we are. Gorilla's up here mischaracterizing something he either did not read up on, which I don't actually believe because I do know that you read. So I won't even say that about you. You're one of the few people that come up here that I do think reads. But let me find the article because we were talking
While
about
you're
this.
looking that up,
The
Gorilla, what's
5,000 people
what's
a
the claim
day,
you're making?
it's a compromise for Republicans. What that is just saying that once we reach 5,000 asylum claims, if you will, people who are going to cross into the U.S. and be given a date to appear in front of an asylum judge, at that point, Biden himself, through executive order, is reserving the right to shut the border down, to close it, to close the border for that
So it's
day.
setting a threshold.
Whereas now,
so it's setting a threshold.
yes,
right?
it's setting a literal threshold, something that has never been done by any president. And then it's saying, hey, once we reach this daily of 5,000, not to say these people aren't being monitored, they're given court dates, whatever. But at that point, nobody is getting through here. If you try to come across the border, we are going to throw you back on the other side. That's what he's saying.
Yeah, it's a bunch.
Yeah, you hate it when it turns out he's actually doing more than Trump ever did. Trump never did that.
I'm just saying, there's
look
a
at
lot
the numbers. Trump never did that.
numbers.
Trump let as many people as ever wanted to cross over in a day cross over.
See, when you pause,
why did you? Can I just ask you a question about your number? And I'll give you time to respond. I know you feel like you're being talked over. I just want to keep us on subject here. Why did you frame it as saying like he's going to allow 5,000 a day? Why did you frame it that way instead of saying like the truth that he's saying at this maximum number we're now setting a threshold, and he said if this passes, anytime we hit 5,000, like I'm going to shut down the border. Why'd you frame it the way you did?
I guess you could frame it however you want. If 3,000,
I know, but I'm asking why you framed it that way.
That's the way I read it. It's truthful. The way I said it is truthful as well, right? I mean, I don't
but
frame
you
things
understand
in
that,
a
like,
democratic way.
They're trying to make it seem like he's doing he made a huge concession that Democrats aren't happy with. That's the point. Biden is doing something that person doesn't get to doing. It's not just like, oh, he's letting 5,000 people in. It's to limit the number of people coming in. Trump never had a limit, a daily limit.
Felice,
no Republican president had a daily limit.
If we're talking about an amendment that's dead on arrival, what I'm saying is the fucking subject. So I don't know what you're talking about. Like, I don't get how you talk like that. It doesn't make sense.
What do you mean? What do you mean? You said when we're talking about a bill that's dead on arrival.
There's all kinds of numbers in there that they need to agree on, and it's just like, here's our numbers. Of course it's going to be dead on arrival because they're going to debate those numbers and come to an agreement. But you can't have like, we're going to put 50,000 extra green cards and we're going to do this for the people that come here and work and that. And
But you understand, Gorilla, you have to understand that's how legislation works, right? Like legislation is literally all concessions, right? It's two sides coming together. The only thing I'm pointing out here is you keep saying it's dead on arrival, and you're right. But why aren't you talking about why it's dead on arrival?
Well, I mean,
because
you can't.
Do you agree? Wait, real quick, let me finish. Do you agree that a border deal like this is better than just doing what we're doing?
Yes.
Okay, so then why aren't you upset about the people who are blocking a border deal?
Well,
because you keep pointing at Biden, you point at us, but like, why are you not pointing at the finger at Donald Trump and the Freedom Caucus, who are the ones blocking a border deal?
Because a border deal obviously needs to be done. The problem that pisses people off is the politics behind it, where the Democrats say, we're going to fix the border, but the Republicans won't let us. And that's because that's
the actual facts of the situation. You don't like the Republicans are being humiliated because of their own choices.
No, there still needs to be an agreement. You don't throw it out there that one side.
There is an agreement. Do you understand that the Republicans, Senator Lankford, who's a Republican from Oklahoma, Sinema, and I can't remember who the third is that's involved in the negotiations for the Republicans, are negotiating directly with Biden, with Schumer, and well, McConnell's involved too, obviously, but they are negotiating. Do you know what happened to Lankford? for being a Republican who's saying it's my constituents are telling me they want a border deal. I don't get to pick and choose when I work for them. We are going to negotiate this border deal. They're censuring him. That's what's happening to Lankford. They're going to censure him, the Oklahoma legislature, for him doing his job for the people.
Yeah. They're
like
changing
really
the subject.
Okay, that's fair, but like again, I don't understand. You point the finger everywhere except for Donald Trump and the Republicans. And right now, we can talk about politics. We can talk about when Democrats have played politics, but right now, you have a man campaigning all over the country that there's a crisis at our border and that it's Joe Biden's fault. Now, if at this point, if you still think it's Joe Biden's fault, you're a fucking moron. Like, we've discussed it. If you think it's if you think it's any one person's Joe
let me
Biden's
call
fault.
you a
But,
fucking moron.
hold on, but
and
let me
explain
just
why it's his fault.
Well,
Can
let
I
me
do
finish.
that?
Let me finish the question. Yeah, and then we can go back to that. That was my fault on the question. But the point is, Republicans have said, like, we're concede a whole bunch of shit, and Democrats are like, you know what? We'll concede. We'll give you this, 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 and this, and here's how. And we're going to work together. Will not get this bill under Donald Trump. It won't happen. And Republicans are like, sorry, it's dead. Even though enough Republicans would vote for this for it to pass if you didn't have the Freedom Caucus and Donald Trump. They're the ones standing in the way. So when you talk, if you want to call the borders open, it's no longer on Democrats. This is, if the borders are open, then this is your fault. You and the people that support Freedom Caucus and Donald Trump. This is you guys.
Okay. Can I have a minute to tell you why you're a fucking moron? Okay.
Wait, well, first of all, I didn't call you a fuck. Well, I guess
Yes,
I said
you
it,
did.
if you believe that.
If you think indirectly, you did.
Yeah,
You
well,
did.
if you believe
guys
that Joe
do that a
Biden
lot.
caused this, yes, then I did say that. You're right.
I
If you
watched
believe
one of
that.
your videos last night, and you
Thank
were
you.
like, if you're MAGA, you're an idiot, blah, blah. And I'm like, Jesus
agree with
Christ,
that.
we're all idiots. All MAGA are racist idiots. It's so typical. But here's why you're a fucking moron. Biden campaigned, I'm just being fair, Biden
That's fair.
campaigned on not deporting anybody his first 100 days. There's one. Then he goes and he gets rid of 64 orders that have to do with the border. He created this fucking problem. I reposted a video.
Wait, hold on. Let's go one by one with those then.
Let me say this last thing. I just reposted a video on why this is happening, why they think. They had a Democrat admit it, and they had a conservative politician. I don't know who it was. I just reposted it because I just do it quickly.
Yeah.
But it's all about, at first they thought it's about voting, right? Because they're letting illegals vote in local elections in New York and stuff. But what this video that I just reposted said, it's not about that so much as it's about population and redistricting. Because they don't count citizens, they count population. So it's all going to be redistricted. Like,
then I would say,
votes.
if it's not about voting and it's just about the total numbers, I would maybe say that Greg Abbott's a moron because he keeps sending these numbers to liberal cities. So if that's the case, then Republicans don't even know how to play that game because they're trying to send all the immigrants.
It's not the case.
And it's not the case.
Is the problem.
But
Well,
second of
also
all-
because the same thing is happening in red states with the plan, right? Like HR2 is basically a plan to give private prisons their money back, right? Because Biden shut federal private profit down. And so those people in those private prisons in red states also are the same situation for redistricting. They count as people. Same issue. Both sides play that game.
But Gorilla, to address your question, like you brought up that Joe Biden said he wasn't going to deport anybody. He wasn't going to deport anybody.
The first 100 days.
Yeah, I agree. He said that, but he lost. This is the thing. Like, this is the part I don't understand what you're doing right now. It seems like you don't care about the problem. And the reason it seems like you don't care about the problem is because Joe Biden has adapted to a much more serious situation. I think we could both agree that when Joe Biden took office versus now, the border is a completely different situation. So Joe Biden made that promise based on the border, how it was at that point, and now he's saying like, no, obviously I can't keep to that. He's changed his mind. Why are you criticizing somebody who took a look at the situation, took a look at the data, and said, never mind, I'm going to go back on that promise because it no longer makes sense? Like, we have to stop criticizing people for doing the right thing.
For critically analyzing data and pivoting. That's what we would want.
Well, we also
But there was one second point there that I want to add. The second point of that is these are most of the people showing up at the border are asylum seekers. You can't deport them.
Which 85%.
So wait, hold on. You can't deport them. You cannot. There is no legal process to deport them. So what he has to do is he has to come up. So we have to come up with a different solution on how to deal with these people, which the Senate has negotiated with Biden. They have a deal that is going to maybe not solve, but at least temporarily fix this problem. And it's Trump and the Freedom Caucus who are like, no, we're going to do nothing unless Donald Trump wins. You want to wait until January of next
Mexico. It was past that. Joe Biden, and Jay was exactly right what he said. I was just looking this up. 200 last month, so there was 249,785 illegal crossings, right? So when you divide that by 30, that's 8,326 people a day. So Biden saying our limit is 5,000 and then the border is shut down and no one else comes in here. That's him literally cutting off the top 3,000 plus people a day.
That's saying, still 1.8 million a year.
Gorilla, you are not dumb. Think critically. These are solutions we need in place. You are smart enough to know that these are good things.
You know what a solution would be? Quit having the Red Cross. Who else? There's another group, the Doctors Without Borders.
Stop humanitarian organizations and non-governmental organizations. That makes sense.
To turn left here and go right there and hop that train. But they're doing this in South America.
That's not what's happening. They're protecting. No, they're not. Listen. Hold on. I was talking. Let me talk, Jay.
That's what I'm saying.
I'm talking to him.
Hold on. Let's
those organizations are protecting women and children from traffickers.
It's the UN, the Red
Gorilla.
Cross.
What they are doing is protecting women and children from traffickers.
You understand securing the border saves lives.
Yeah. Do you notice the party that says they're protecting women and children? This is the party that's protecting women and children right here.
Secure the border, save lives.
Are you saying that like if we didn't allow the Red Cross and the UN to give people instructions on how to safely go to the U.S. border. Answer the question, Gorilla. Answer the question. No, calm down, dude. You are calm down. Hold on.
Hysterical and factually wrong about every single thing he's saying.
But we're creating a problem where we put these people's lives in the cartel's hands.
Hold
on, brother. You guys are cool with that.
I'm asking you a question.
Factually incorrect. Just yelling lies.
Hey, Gorilla, calm down. Let's take it down. Let's take it down a notch, okay? Just take it down, dude. You're hysterical this morning.
I have two people that overtalk me, so
I just asked you a question, and I'm asking you. I'm trying to give you time to answer the question, but when I ask you the question, you have to ask or answer the question.
Okay, then you answer my question that I just
so let me ask. Well, you don't get to answer my questions with a question. Once you answer it, I'll let you ask a question, Gorilla. This is how humans talk. I'm trying to keep it so that you can answer questions and ask questions.
I get 8 seconds after you ask a question.
I will give you more time, dude. I will give you more time, okay? I'm saying, you're saying that the UN and the Red Cross, they're giving directions. I just simply asked, do you think it would fix the problem if the UN and the Red Cross didn't give people clear instructions on how to apply for asylum? Are you saying that would solve the problem?
I'm saying you can solve the problem locally. You don't have to. Your answer is such a quick thing, like just go to America. The cartels won't.
No. You're not answering my question. Hold on. You got to answer my question.
You're not making sense.
What? How does that?
You got to answer my question. Because I asked you, do you think that would solve the problem? And now you're on to other things. Because what you said initially is, you know what would solve the problem? Is if the UN and the Red Cross stopped giving people instructions on how to apply for asylum. I'm just wondering why you think that would fix the problem.
Let me answer your question. Do I think that would fix the problem? I think what that does is that you have all these pamphlets that they hand out how to get to America from 5 countries deep, right? And instead of focusing on the issue of why they would send those people to America, they say, here's a piece of paper on how to get to America, where they run into the cartel and the cartel takes care of it. Then they're extorted. Then they're unalived. Then they're trafficked.
Okay.
It's so let's go. That shit. So I think it's creating more of a problem.
So let's ask a question. Let me stay here then.
He doesn't.
So if the Red Cross gave you, I understand. Just let me try and walk through this. If the Red Cross and the UN gave pamphlets that said, if you're coming from Venezuela, stop in, choose a country. I don't care, whatever country you want to choose in. Here's how you apply for asylum in those countries. If there's no opportunity for the people there, if the countries don't have the resources to take care of asylum seekers, then what?
It's not about the resources. It's about their lives. That's why.
No, what do we do?
This is why they're all denied, Jay.
Wait, hold on, brother.
This is why they deny asylum. 85% of them are here illegally. Because that's how many are, because they're coming here economically, and that's not our problem. That's not how you get asylum.
Gorilla. To see if they would work. I don't think the solution of stopping the UN and the Red Cross from giving directions on how to apply for asylum would work. You just said it. You said it yourself. 85% of them are being turned around. So the problem that we seem to have at our southern border is that we can't process people quick enough.
No.
Because how is that not the problem? How is that not the problem?
They're not being turned around, dude. Their date is 2034. They file for asylum. Hear me out. They file for asylum. Then they have 2 or 3 anchor fucking babies over the 10 years that they wait for their court date, which is 7
so we make it. That's what I just said. I just said we need to make.
You just said they get turned around.
You're not listening.
And they don't fucking get turned around.
Calm down, sweetheart. Calm the fuck down. I just said the problem is they're not being processed fast enough, and your response is, it's taking too long to process them. Do you not recognize that we're saying the same thing, Gorilla? Only you're just screaming? We're saying the exact same thing, that the problem at the border is that we can't get these people processed quick enough. It's taking years, and we need to do that quickly. And you correctly brought up that when we do it, 85% of the people are not granted asylum.
Then it's too late.
Part of this plan negotiated by the Senate is to add more border patrol. It's also to add more judges and more attorneys and people to speed up this process. That's why this plan is the only plan I've seen, and the reason it has bipartisan support is because it doesn't fix the problem, but it's going to speed up how quickly we fix the problem. You and I are saying the same thing. The problem that you have, Gorilla, and Felice nailed this, you're smart. You'd be a liberal if you weren't obsessed with Donald Trump. And so you feel backed into a corner where you just have to argue. And you're arguing the same points I am. And the bill that's introduced that Donald Trump and House Republicans are rejecting, that is attempting to solve the very issues that you're complaining about.
Yeah, a lot of what you just said is true, right? That and that's what I said earlier, that it's a lot of it's a numbers thing, agreeing on, do we do 50,000 green cards? Do we do 40? We need to do all of it. And I can't say that every time I come up here and debate. I can't say, here's what we need to do. Raise the green card, do this, raise that, do this, stop destabilizing Venezuela, stop fucking with Central American countries. And I can't say that every time, because it would be a dialogue of 10 minutes of here's everything that we need to do, which are
all ideas you got from me, right? Like we have all literally, Gorilla, you are saying stuff that I taught you.
No,
We all
I mean,
agree on this. And wait, I just want to go back to something else
I
you were
wouldn't
saying.
say
Hold on,
that,
stop.
Elise.
Yes, it is true, Gorilla.
I mean,
you
I've
can
been
believe you
following
got that
politics
information
my
on your
whole
own,
life.
but I told you that. And furthermore, you were screaming. Because you're so incorrect about so many things you're screaming. You were screaming that, oh, why don't they stop in another country? Here, look up a Reuters article called Biden administration. Stop talking and listen and learn something. Biden administration urges U.S. court to uphold asylum restrictions. Biden tried and was making it illegal to show up here and claim asylum without first stopping in another country. And that's what happens. The Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals decided that violates what? Federal immigration law. That's the problem. Joe Biden already tried, and we have to. Things are not getting better. Mass migration around the world is not going to stop because of climate crisis, because of conflict, because of many things. So now we need to fundamentally change federal immigration law to fix this. And we have people, Republicans, who refuse to do anything before Donald Trump is elected. That's a waste of time, and you know it.
So help me understand the why. Why? I mean, you said federal immigration law. I wonder what the real meaning is. So they're saying you have to personally get to our border to file for asylum. And why is
what it's saying is you can't which explicitly states that crossing the border illegally should not and cannot be a bar to asylum, because this is our own federal law, and this is in line with human rights and immigration law around the world. If people are in danger, we can't say, oh, you're running for your life, make a quick stop somewhere else first. Right. That's our own federal law. But because of the way mass migration is working, we need that law. That's a great idea. Joe Biden's doing a great thing. We can't have 4 to 5 billion people who qualify for asylum showing up at our southern border. It's not feasible. We have to change federal immigration law. But the lie that the Republicans are selling, that this is Joe Biden has tried not only this, but other things that are great ideas. There's another article called, this is in the Washington Post this weekend, called, hold on, because you'll like this, girl. It talks about a lot of the things you're talking about. Biden pledge to shut down border points to policy shortfalls. And this article is referring to what you're talking about, the 5,000 people a day, and then the border shuts down. And it's saying, we're all saying the same thing. What it's showing is that Biden's saying, hey, what I said at the beginning of my presidency, things have changed. These numbers are outpacing anything I've ever seen before, and we need to change things. And this article also talks about what Jay was talking about how for a while Biden had immigration officials, not judges. We don't have enough judges. So just officials who were processing asylum claims that they knew probably weren't going to make it through. So we could just get these people out of here and not have, like you're saying, people here for years and establishing a life here, and the chance to get them to leave goes down. So, and he was doing that, but because of the imminent ending of Title 42, right? There was even a lawsuit about that. And then they redirected people to work on the end of Title 42. So that's something also that the Democrats were working on, because that's what it's about. It's processing these claims faster.
Yeah, we need to do all that, right? Judges, everything. Increase the numbers. I'm not even opposed to that. Making DACA citizens, obviously. There's so much shit that what we do say we are agreeing with, but I mean, the way you guys go about it, like these numbers need to be agreed on. So when you say, like you just did, that the Republicans are lying, that's what the Democrats are doing by saying that it's the Republicans holding it up. Because these numbers need to be agreed on. Oh, there's a problem that there's a crisis at the border.
Gorilla,
the Republicans need to do something.
Hold on,
it's
real
bullshit
quick.
Politics.
Hold on, real quick. Who is holding up the deal from going through right now?
Well, there has to be an agreement. They need to agree on both sides. So you don't just pit it on one side.
Okay, so let's listen.
The bullshit politics.
Hold on, brother. The Senate agreed on it, right? They negotiated it with Joe Biden. The Senate has said this works for us. There are members, the Democrat House has said, yes, we will vote on this. There are multiple members of
Democratic
the Republican
House.
Party. Democratic, sorry, thank you. She's gonna kill me. She even told me before the live, stop saying Democrat, it's Democratic. This could be the end of it. But like, this is the thing.
They're not going to agree to the 5,000.
Hold on.
That's not going to happen.
I agree to you. Hold on. I agree with you that a lot of times things are politics, but this one is cut and dry. No. There is one group of people that, it is. There is one group of people.
Not when you send it through passed. With 5,000 on there. They're not going to agree to 1.8 million illegals every fucking day.
Jesus Christ, Gorilla, you understand. Of course you understand this, but like you're so far up Trump's ass that like you have to defend him. There have been multiple days where more than 10,000 people crossed the border. 10,000 on
12.
Every one of those days, yes, that's what I said, multiple days. On every one of those days, if this law was in place, the number would have been 5,000, and that would have limited it, and the border would have shut down at 5,000.
I just said we averaged 8.3 a day. Last month, we averaged 8.3 a day.
Thank you.
Take it to 2 and I bet it passes.
So 3,000 people a day less is what we would have at the border. And you guys are spinning a fake fucking narrative that Biden's saying like, oh, we're going to let 5,000 people come through. No, 8,000 are coming through right now. Okay. And just so you understand, those 8,000 people that are coming through, they're coming through because of how our laws are written. And in order to fix how our laws are written, we would have to pass legislation. They are acting in accordance with how our laws are written. What Biden is now doing is getting authorization from the House and the Senate saying, hey, look, we understand that this is how our laws are written, but you get executive power. Under this bill, the president gets the executive authority to shut down the border. They are giving him permission to use shut down the border because of an emergency. The reason Title 42 went away is because it was enacted under emergency authorization. Once the emergency was gone, it could no longer be in place. So in order for us to shut down the border, we have to be able to empower the president to use emergency authorization to shut down the border. In order to give the president emergency authorization, you have to set parameters and say, when it goes above this, it's officially an emergency. They agreed on the number of 5,000. Any person over 5,000 is an emergency, and the president can immediately shut down the border. This is our Congress and our executive branch doing exactly what they're supposed to. And you have Donald Trump, who doesn't want Biden to get a win. And the Republicans, like Laura Ingraham, Mike Johnson, they're on record. Donald Trump at rallies, they're all on record. Marjorie Taylor Greene, all of them on record is saying, hey, we're not going to give Joe Biden a win. They recognize this is a win. You recognize it's a win. They're doing it according to our laws. And you're up here screaming into the void because you don't like that we are correctly pointing out that a small group of people that are led at the direction of the former president are making it so that we can't do anything about our border.
Well, you do know that Joe Biden could shut the border down right now, right?
No,
you do know that he could do remain.
You're not listening,
right?
Gorilla, it was shut. Gorilla, it was shut down with Remain in Mexico, and the court said you can't use that. The courts overturned
a conservative judge in Texas, Gorilla.
There is now precedent, there is legal precedent and court orders saying, no, you can't do this without congressional authorization. So they're giving him the fucking authorization, and you're complaining that the people who are making it so he can't shut it down, like they're right? What are you talking about, dude? Like, I don't really love this border deal. This is a huge concession. This was a huge loss for Joe Biden. And if Republicans weren't so goddamn dumb and kept listening to the dumbest person in their party, Donald Trump, they could have taken this deal, spun it as a win, and Trump's numbers would have went up. But instead, he needs this. He needs this border crisis to distract from the fact that he just had to pay $83 million, that he's about to lose multiple more $1 million in New York. The fact that, oh shit, just turns out $50 million that he loaned to himself was fake. He's committing tax fraud. He needs you to stay upset about this. That's why he won't allow a solution. Meanwhile, you, I, Felice, the rest of the country, we're the ones that are going to hurt for this. The people sitting at the border with legitimate asylum claims, they're going to be hurt. The Border Patrol that's working day and night, they're going to be hurt. The people that are following Greg Abbott and the Texas National Guard, who are going to apparently try and stop our National Guard from doing something, they might get hurt. Women and children getting cut up in razor wire, they might get hurt. Everybody's getting hurt for what? So Donald Trump can distract from the fact that he's getting absolutely ass blasted every time he walks into court.
Dude,
and you're defending it. You're too smart for this. You're not this dumb.
You're dumb if you think he's paying $83 million.
Oh, we don't think Trump pays his bills. We don't think Trump pays his bills. We don't think Trump pays his bills, Gorilla. No one thinks Trump pays bills.
Wait,
nobody thinks that. Nobody thinks he pays bills. No one's ever thought that.
She thinks it's sexy.
Gorilla.
Like, she's a nutcase. You guys are crazy.
Let me respond to that. Gorilla, let me respond to that.
Gorilla's vile.
I know. You're disgusting right now. Because this is what, when you get backed into a corner, you just start
Dude, have you seen her on interviews?
Oh, I'm not done.
Gorilla decides who can or cannot be essayed now. That is a vile thing to say.
That's not what I said.
Saying that. Wait, hold on, Gorilla. Let me cover a few things. Number one. When you point, like, stop being informed by memes. That's silly. When you say that this is, I've watched this go around Twitter. This is how I'm educated, because I see the shit that you guys say and I fact check it. When you say that this is the judge that threw out the case against Prince Andrew, you're lying or you're stupid. It's one of the two, because that's not what happened. The prosecutor dropped the fucking case. The judge had nothing to do with that. The prosecutor dropped it. You know why? Because the witnesses they had no longer wanted to cooperate because they were afraid for their lives. So the judge didn't dismiss it. The prosecutor dropped the charges. So don't blame the judge for that. And then secondly, I don't care. There are be a little bit rough. They might like to do things in their bedroom that if done without consent are great. The problem that you have is you think that because somebody likes sex and somebody advocates healthy ideas of like what you can do, like sex for a lot of people is like a fantasy land they go to. They do things in a safe environment that they may fantasize about. Even if you fantasize about Donald Trump doing exactly what he did to her, even if she had that exact fantasy, she still has to give permission. She still has to have permission to give permission for that to be consent. And she didn't give permission. And Donald Trump has repeatedly lied about the entire thing. He said, oh, I was never attracted to her. But he said, like, oh, that's Marla. That's my wife, when shown a picture of her. Gorilla, this is the thing. Like, this
so
is why
without
people
any
get
proof,
upset about.
You believe her.
This is why there's, listen, brother, there was a lot of proof. A lot. And you don't know that for some reason.
And this trial was not about that. That had already been decided in a previous trial. Stop, Gorilla. Right. What happened, what this trial was about was an $83.3 million self-inflicted wound. This is about a man who will not shut up.
Defamation, I know.
This is about so it had nothing to do with anything, but you're just here deciding whether or not a woman was essayed, something you have no knowledge of. And you're saying what? Because she was an advice sex columnist, that she wanted it? That's the most vile thing to imply I've ever heard in my life.
Oh man.
Imagine, if this was somebody in my life and they had a really horrific experience with sex, and what they did is they embraced it, they owned it, and they went on and they're like, hey, you know what? I'm going to have a healthy relationship with sex in my life. I'm not gonna let this define me. And she went on. She was a popular columnist. She was beloved by a lot of people. She wrote edgy stuff that like the mainstream society maybe was uncomfortable with. She wrote edgy things, but that's the thing. You can't say that this person, Donald Trump, who's on tape saying, I'm allowed to do this, and then he gets accused of doing exactly that, and you're going to say about this woman, oh, well, she wrote columns about things. Yes, dude, I don't know how much sex you have, but there are men and women who like to simulate like things like bondage, things like maybe being tied down or held down, or they will simulate like that it's against their will, right?
Yes,
and that's
yes, I know.
but they do it in a safe place where there's consent. So your argument, and
So
I'm just
let
telling
me-
you,
let
Gorilla
me-
Radio, when women are getting upset at you right now, it's because
No.
of this. It's
No,
because
I
women
get
can.
it. Let
Wait,
me-
hold
let
on.
me
I'm almost
speak a
there. I'm
second.
almost there, and I promise you'll go. When women are listening to you say that, what they're hearing is, okay, so if I ever get assaulted, people are going to dig through all my text messages, through my exes, and they're going to go through every sexual encounter I had. And if anything is anything other than basic missionary, they're going to use that to smear me, to say that I couldn't have possibly been taken advantage of. And that's what you're doing. And this is why women have a problem with this, because you're not speaking about just E. Jean Carroll.
No,
Like,
and I get it.
there are women across the. So understand when you say that, that's why you get the visceral response.
This is
that you
why
get.
women don't report SA. This is why I didn't, because of exactly what you are doing. It is
Look.
vile.
See, let me respond, please. So my current girlfriend has that same fantasy. The girl when I was in respiratory therapy, the girlfriend that I had then, same thing. And she was just raped when she was in I was way older than her, like 15 years. I don't know how I pulled her, but she just went through that, and they brought an expert from Boston on it. It was her golf teacher in high school in a small town. I didn't even know about it when we were in school that she was going to court for that. So she actually was raped, and this was still her fantasy. When I asked her what her fantasies were, that was
So what are you saying?
so that I do have experience and I do understand that
You
this
are
is a fucking
disgusting
thing that
for
girls
putting her
like.
business out there. Everything you are doing right now is absolutely disgusting.
No, it's not, because I still have an opinion, Felice.
He doesn't even
and
get
this
it.
E. Jean Carroll thing does not pass the smell test.
just-
I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Gorilla, you
Vile.
just
You're
Gorilla,
vile.
you just shared.
You're a vile
Gorilla,
human
you
being.
just shared someone.
You're a
you just
vile
shared
human
someone.
being for what you just did.
You just shared somebody else's story of their abuse as a way to add credibility to yourself.
No, just
And
to
why-
say that
like,
I
and
Discredit
here's-
another
acting like
woman's
I'm an idiot,
story
like, I don't
of
know how much
essay.
sex you've had.
Of essay.
I
A
do
story
get
that
it.
was
I do
not
get it.
yours to tell. Vile.
Well, you can believe her if you want. Do you? You believe her?
Well, here's the-
you both
here's
of
the
you
thing,
two
Gorilla.
believe her. Is that what you're saying? Then
Why
I have
don't
the
you- here's
fucking
the-
right to say I don't believe her.
You,
in a-
you
in
do,
a
but
fucking
here's yeah, you
department
do.
store.
Yeah, you do. Gorilla Radio. Yes, you do. But what you don't have is any firsthand knowledge of what
Neither
happened.
you don't either.
Correct, Gorilla Radio, which is
But
why
yet you have the
which
opinion that
is
you
why
fucking
which is
believe
why
her.
which is
You guys
why
are so
which is
it's
why
so
shut
fucked
up,
up.
dude, shut up, I'm not
Fucking
done.
Jesus.
Which is why, Gorilla, that I waited for the trial and I waited for the jury, and you are not only discounting her,
The
but
jury
you're
didn't
also
say he was
discounting
guilty of that.
Of sexual abuse. Yes, they did,
Sexual
Gorilla.
abuse,
You have
they did.
no idea what you're talking about, like usual. A jury of our peers, of citizens,
A civil
decided
jury.
it's not up for debate.
After they changed the law so that they could take him to fucking
Hey,
court.
Gorilla Radio, let me tell you a secret about that
A jury
law.
of our peers found him liable of sexual abuse. You can't rewrite history. They heard the evidence. And they decided, Gorilla.
No
It's
DNA.
been decided he's liable of sexual abuse.
20 fucking years
you
earlier,
don't get
no
to
DNA.
rewrite history. But I
No
do
blue
see that you
dress
will
with
continue
semen.
to slander women. I pity your girlfriend.
Ah, you can believe
I pity
it. I
her.
don't. Sorry. What? 'Cause I'm a douchebag because I don't
Wait,
believe
no,
her?
Gorilla Radio, the reason you're a douchebag is because the only reason you don't believe this is because it's about Donald Trump. That same law that you just complained about them undoing, you know who else used that law? People that went after Harvey Weinstein. People that went after Jeff Epstein. People that went after one of the Cuomos. That law being repealed basically said, hey, look, we understand there was a statute of limitations on civil trials for people who have been abused. And we know now through data that oftentimes people aren't ready to face their abusers or ready to be in the spotlight for a long time. And for those people, who are past the statute of limitations, who have legitimate claims, because we see that in this country for far too long we haven't believed women. Bring those together. Now, I don't see you up here defending Harvey Weinstein. I don't see you up here defending Jeffrey Epstein. I don't see you defending Prince Andrew. I don't see you defending the Cuomos. Why? Because you don't know that. Because you've been fed a story that the whole reason this law was changed was to go after Donald Trump. I don't know who dropped him, but that's fine. But that's the things that you don't know, Guerrilla Radio. And look, like, you can get as mad as you want, and the other Trump people can get as mad as you want, but the truth is, you don't have a defense. You just really, really, really are tired of Donald Trump being losing court case, I guess, and you think it's smeared, but show me somebody else who's dealing with this. Show me another politician ever who has this many. Why? We're that afraid of him? He just lost to Joe Biden. Nobody's afraid of him. He's a one-term president. He was impeached twice. He has 91 indictments. He's now lost 3 civil cases, or 2, and the third one that we're going to find out what. I guess he's lost 3, but the third one we don't know the damages yet. Yeah, dude, it's crazy. Police.
I don't even. This is very triggering for me personally, but like, I think the point is that in this court, where we always hear, let a jury of our peers decide. That's the way the American justice system works. A jury of our peers heard E. Jean Carroll's case, heard the evidence, and found him liable of SA. And this last trial had nothing to do with that. That was determined in the first trial. This second trial was exclusive. That was already a finding of fact. And what was up for debate is why Trump can't shut his mouth and stop defaming people. He made an $83.3 million self-inflicted wound, and now we have to listen to men discredit what a jury of our peers found him liable for. That's how the American justice system works.
Yeah, I'm getting really tired of the, oh, well, it was a jury. It was a liberal jury. It was like, it doesn't matter. When we bring up earlier in the conversation, and we're talking about the border, and we talk about Title 42 being stricken down, they don't care that it was a conservative judge. They don't care. It's so opportunistic the way that they use this, and that's what sucks. Is like this anger, this outrage that we're seeing from Republicans, this constant fear mongering. What's it really about? It's really about Donald Trump. And he keeps saying, like, I can't believe the Republicans that I see all the time. Like, he's standing in front of us because they're really after you. No, we're fucking not. Nobody's coming after you unless you've also done the things that he's accused of and the things that he's been found liable of. And that's what's so sad about this whole thing is this anger, this outrage, this splitting apart of families, this divisiveness in the country is about one man. And you could just let him go at any time. You could have his same policies with somebody who wasn't a lunatic, but you can't. And that, like, that's the culty part of it, is that you can't let go of one man. So now it doesn't matter. We know this now. We've seen how you react. It will not matter what he is accused of. It will not matter what he's found guilty of. You will support him until he's gone, and probably for the rest of your life. And that's sad. That's from somebody who defended some pretty awful people most of my life, the people that founded my religion and ran my religion, and I viewed them as any criticism towards them as just people being anti them or haters. Yeah, it's not a good way to live, and it doesn't end well. It's going to wind up with you having no friends and no family and just shouting into the void and not understanding why nobody else is as angry as you. Well, nobody else is as angry as you because we don't worship this guy. Like, we can look at the writing on the wall. We can see how many times this guy is going to get caught doing something. We're like, yeah, maybe he's just not a good guy.
If the same jury in New York found him not liable, then that would have been a valid decision to MAGA. That's the problem. Is that this is just situational. Any jury that lets Trump off, that's a fair trial, right? Or any election that Trump wins. We had the Iowa caucus, people throw in pieces of scraps of paper into paper bags. But Trump won, so did we hear a word about election interference? An election where people are throwing scraps of paper into paper bags. Nope.
No, not a
Nope.
problem.
Not a word. Not a word because Trump won. You guys reek of hypocrisy.
If anybody in the box is opposition, stay in the box. If you're not, hop out. I see a political mom. I know you wanted to come up and discuss. I see a Rosebud. I know you're not opposition to this. The other three I see, Pearl, Par, Vajordan, and Royal Shala. I know I've talked to some of you before, but please hop out of the box if you're not opposition. We'll bring you back in. Felice, I apologize. That was triggering. I apologize for that. You're muted.
Since the beginning, this is the problem. Like, this is our American justice system. This is why women don't report. SA. It's because, do I want to be discredited? Do I want to be ridiculed? Do I want my life ruined by men and women? Right?
Yeah.
And this is a case where a jury of our peers decided that he's liable. It's not up for debate. But what is it for Republicans? It's always disparaging a woman who he was found liable by a jury, not a judge. And we're still disparaging this woman's character, still defaming her. Whether you like that a jury found him liable, it's not up for debate.
Yeah, I don't even I don't even know. And for those who are here that were triggered by that, please, when that happened, look, we Felice and I will have a discussion offline on what we want to do going forward with Gorilla, and that's obviously gonna be our choice. But I just need you guys to know in the chat, like, this isn't always going to be a place where it's safe. This is going to be a place where people say triggering things from time to time. I think that those views need to be exposed, and I think that that's what we're seeing. Like, we're seeing that. Unfortunately for Gorilla, and we see it. David was messaging me all night last night. I would just say to my Republican friends.
Did you unblock him?
Out there. Well, I think Jen is the one that blocked him, but he found me on a different one.
He told me, he messaged me last week. I forgot to tell you because, you had like a crisis. But yeah, he messaged me last week. It was like, I'm blocked on all. Because I think I invited him to our live on Thursday. And he's like, you guys have me blocked.
Well, the problem is like these folks, we're getting to this point now where everything Donald Trump is virtually indefensible. So what you have to do in order to continue to support Donald Trump at this point is make up conspiracy theories and buy into them yourself. You have to convince yourself that everything is unfair for him because he keeps losing. He loses everywhere he goes. He just keeps losing. Things keep getting worse. And so you have to convince yourself that there's this narrative that just nobody else is seeing, but you guys are seeing.
Well, it's like, did you see, I don't know if you saw, but I mean, I think the best example of that is Elise Stefanik. And she took down that statement. She posted her official statement after January 6th, condemning what happened. And Liz Cheney's like, remember who you used to be when you were not a crackpot? She took it down. Yeah.
Pearl, welcome. Sorry, I muted you just while we were still going. So you're muted. I can send you an invite to. Oh, shoot. Right. Shoot. Sorry. Right as I sent you an invite. There you go. Sorry about that. What's up? Oh, can't really hear you there.
You hear me?
No, talk right next to your mic. I don't know if you have headphones on, but it sounds awful. There you go.
You guys hear me? Yeah?
Yeah.
All right, perfect. Hey, sorry about that, guys.
All good. What's up?
Hey, so I just want to start off by saying that I did vote for Trump when he ran, but I'm a realist, right? I thought that he was running on policy. I absolutely did not know anything about Donald Trump at the time that he ran. I supposedly did my own research. People can believe what they want to believe, but I did vote for him, right? Thinking that we were headed towards the right direction. But and by the way, I did change my vote. I did vote for Joe Biden this past election. Okay. Now, when did the Republican Party become a party of running and believing logical fallacies? Right. It is incredible. And my background is in analytics, where my presentations, what I do for a living, is based on actual facts, right? There's a pattern of things that occur And I'm able to prove that this could potentially occur because of all of these things that have occurred in the past, right? I'm a realist. My
Correlation and causation. Yeah.
Exactly. My decisions are based on actual facts. It's incredible to me.
Can we go back? Can we go backwards real quick? So when you voted for Donald Trump, because I've said this, but I believe it. I think that there were legitimate reasons to vote for Donald Trump, and most of those came on like how you expected him to govern as the president his first
That's
term,
correct.
right?
That's
okay.
correct. Yeah.
Gotcha. Yeah. But then what you're saying is once you have a track record, now you've got to look at the actual track record. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, at some point, voters, in my opinion, voters have blinders on, and there's a bit of a bingo buzzword that politicians play, right? And it's literally they have voters at home they feel like they have this bingo card, and they're waiting to hear border wall, build a wall, immigration. There are people who are waiting for these buzzwords, and that causes them to decide on who they're going to vote for. Unfortunately, that's what it is. Fear mongering. I saw somebody in the comments. It's exactly it. Fear mongering, right? The buzzword was, immigrants and caravans, right? I mean, Donald Trump used all of those buzzwords and that's invasion, and that's how he got voters, in my opinion. In fact, I mean, I think one of the things that had me vote for him is because he mentioned at some point that he was going to go in and fix the immigration system, right? At one point, he didn't talk about the immigration system negatively. He actually said he was going to fix it, which, by the way, was total BS, right? He didn't do anything. He didn't do anything. The only thing he did was pretty much the same narrative that he ran on, that he was going to shut the border down because of all of the bad people that are coming over, and we're going to ignore all of the bad stuff that the Americans are doing. It's all about the non-Americans that are coming, over the border, killing all our people, doing this and this and that. That is what he runs on. That is his policy, right? And guess what? Unfortunately, people are not as educated as we would like for them to be to understand that this is a freaking con man. Okay.
So when did that happen? When did the change happen for you? Like, what was there a catalyst that made you say, like, all right, that's enough, or was it gradual?
Absolutely. Personally, I have lots of family members who did come here illegally. Okay, and this was over 20 years ago. Now they're legal citizens, but there's a lot of Americans like me where you still have family members who want to come to this country and actually do something, right? Provide for their families, pay taxes, right?
So you're saying like the demonization of
yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
My whole premise was, okay, this guy's going to make it a little easier for people to come over here the right way, right? He did nothing to make it worse, to be honest with you, because at some point he turned people against immigrants, right? It's like this, like the monster. It's a giant monster that's trying to come over the border, and
it's such a mischaracterization as well. Like, I was thinking about, are you Mexican? Are you from another?
I am, yes.
Yeah, I'm indigenous Mexican. Yaqui, my father is, or half. So yeah, I was thinking about this earlier. It's also a mischaracterization. Like, when you hear about the replacement theory, all these brown people are coming to take our jobs. That is not true, right? We have 11 million available jobs in this country right now that Americans do not want to do, right? And that affects our economy. So that's the first thing. And then the second thing is the mischaracterization of people from Spanish-speaking countries in general, thinking that, these will translate into Democratic votes. They absolutely will not. My father, I'm sure you understand, because of the stranglehold the Catholic Church had on South America, Central America, Mexico during colonization, many of these people are Republican voters. As a matter of fact.
Absolutely. Yeah,
and that's also a fundamental misunderstanding of what is happening south of here. Many of these people are Republican voters.
Absolutely. So. I mean, I have family members who voted for Trump until this day. They still do, despite my best efforts to say, hey, I think we're heading in the wrong direction. But it's not only that, right? He ran on, you know, dramatically scaling back the U.S. education department, which is terrible, right? I mean, we have I'm the husband of a teacher, 20 years in, and it's amazing, you know, how much they get paid and very little raises for the job they do. It's and you know, and he again, hire American workers, right? He wanted to do that, scale back the education department. He uses his buzzwords. Eliminate gun-free zones, right? I mean, come on,
Yeah.
right? It's ridiculous, but yeah, and I can't stay on too long here, but I just want to say,
Chat's going to yell at us if we don't yell at somebody.
I like what you guys are doing. By the way, I hope that some of the folks on here, like me, wake up. This is a con man, okay? You cannot. It's like rules for thee, but not for me, right? Apparently, if the court system finds him liable, it's not right.
It doesn't count.
It doesn't count. It just didn't happen. You have to believe in the court system, right? Some of these folks were hired by him, right? I mean, it's ridiculous. Anyway, guys, I got to run. I appreciate what you guys are doing. Thank you for letting me jump on. Wake up, people. Wake up.
I followed you.
Wake the F up. Okay?
I appreciate it. And I appreciate the golf profile picture. I definitely appreciate that.
Thank you.
All right, brother. Be well. Bye.
He's a perfect example of like what we were seeing from the New Hampshire primary, right? Like the shift, right? That's an intelligent Republican who's now been disenfranchised. Like that's what that is. Like they're moving towards not college education. Like he's a perfect example of the people moving away from the Republican Party.
Yeah, good point. Housecoat, welcome.
Hello, thank you for having me. I'm another friendly, so I'll keep this short. I think I could do it in
you friendlies, why don't you? I'm going to get in trouble. You know how much I get? Be really fast or I'm going to get in trouble.
Five sentences. I hate this argument that New York, a liberal state, changed the statute of limitations on sexual abuse just to target Trump. At the time that happened, her defamation case against him was already pending. In order for her to succeed on that case, she would have had to prove her underlying allegation was true. The jury's verdict form would not have looked one bit different. They found him unanimously liable. They're making a $5 million complaint. That's the only thing that would have changed. That's all I have.
Basically, you wouldn't have been able to give him damage. Like you still could have said that he was, it could have looked the same, but you can't charge for damages for that particular act. That's all that really opened it up. But you're right. Like the initial court case, it was defamation and that, right? So she would have had to prove that in order to prove defamation. So you're right about that. Like he might have been, I don't remember the exact amount that they gave for the sexual abuse. But you're 100% right on that.
Have a good day and start yelling.
Yeah, thanks. See ya. Yeah, that's a good point. The only difference in this case would have been that whatever damages they get, and somebody could tell me if they look through the first case, like there was by the way, it wasn't $5 million. $5 million was the total, but some of that money was for defamation, some of that was for attorney fees, some of that that wasn't all just sexual abuse. The sexual abuse had like a certain amount tied to it, but he's right about that. All right, Felice.
Yes.
We have a lot of things to talk about. Is there a place you'd like to start?
No, we can just start wherever. I was going to look up the breakdown in those fees. I guess it's not even that important. I couldn't remember what.
Look it up. I'll pull this one up. So,
okay.
Look, I try and be honest. I try and not be biased. So I'm going to start the day off with a story about Lauren Boebert, and everybody knows that. I can
this
save
is
her,
a good one.
But unfortunately for Miss Bobo, she came in 5th place in her primary debate in her new district. She received just 10% of the vote from the Republicans who participate in the survey at the debate. She was wholly unconvincing to the audience. I had some hope from the Colorado GOP. There were 7 people on stage, I think, if I counted right. There were 7-ish. Maybe it was 8. Maybe I think it was 7. But at one point, somebody in the Q&A asked, who believes that the election was stolen? Only 2 of the 7 people raised their hands. And now one of them, the guy next to Lauren Boebert, raised both hands. Surprise, surprise, that person also a criminal, also crazy. But there's this picture of Lauren Boebert out hiding behind cars smoking a cigarette that is just beautiful. Just devastating loss for Lauren Boebert. And unfortunately for Lauren Boebert, she's not very good at speaking. So her media engagements will be light. Nobody's going to come after her for a TV gig. She can't host a podcast. Lauren Boebert's career it looks to be over.
Oh yeah, Lauren, that's hilarious. Like how her career is over. I just don't. What I don't get is like, especially on the state level. Let's get away from the Trump derangement syndrome that MAGA is suffering from. But on the state level, why would you watch someone mid-job? I'm quitting you and I'm going to go support other people. Wouldn't those people over there say, oh, we just watched you abandon these other people? Why?
After you turned it blue. Yeah.
Exactly. We just watched you literally run that district into the ground, make it impossible for them to probably elect, basically hand it over to Adam Frisch, the Democratic candidate in that district, and then just be like, now I'm here to run your district into the ground. And they had Ken Buck, who I do not like Ken Buck. He was a Free Dumb Caucus member, but we did see he's retiring because he was pushed out of the House by the crazed Free Dumb Caucus members. Like, they had a real conservative Republican who, you know what I'm saying? They don't want Lauren Boebert. And I'm not surprised.
He was like a Liz Cheney Republican, like actually voting
a Liz
wise.
Cheney Republican.
Yeah, voting wise, more conservative than most of these MAGA Republicans.
The
but
MAGA
on the
Republicans
one issue,
aren't conservative.
Yeah, on the one issue that matters, do you pledge your undying loyalty to Donald Trump? He failed the question, and so he's gone. That is the only question that matters to MAGA voters.
Because he would not say that because he said there's not enough evidence, there's no evidence to impeach Joe Biden. That's why. Because he just said, yeah, there's no evidence. We can investigate it, but there's no evidence.
By the way, I was trying to pull this data last night, and I can't find from
I can't find the first Eugene Carroll trial breakdown. All it comes up is Fridays.
Yeah, that's the problem. They try and hit you with the new news. I was looking at impeachments. In Donald Trump's 4 years as president, 13 times people filed articles of impeachment against him. Obviously, 2 of those went through the House, and then he was not removed by the Senate. Did you know that through 2 years, Joe Biden had 14 articles of impeachment? None of them even got a vote. None of them got close. And
how many were from margarine?
6. 6. You want to talk about a party?
Such a waste.
You want to talk about weaponizing the impeachment?
Impotent.
You want to talk about going after a president since the day they came down the escalator? Like, that Joe Biden had articles of impeachment filed day 1 through 2 years, 14, which was one more than Trump in 4 years. And I know there's been multiple articles of impeachment since then. I just don't have the numbers. It's going to be double, maybe triple the amount, and we can't get past an inquiry. I just want Republicans, for everybody who thinks that this was so unfair, at the very least, there was bipartisan support that Donald Trump did something. At the very least, Republicans, even ones that voted against impeachment initially, said, yes, we should have an impeachment inquiry here. We should have impeachment hearings. We should find out about these charges. Republicans can't even get that. And they're still the party shouting the loudest about weaponization and about unfair, and you just don't like Trump. You guys just don't like Biden. Like, the amount of dirt that Republicans have tried to put on Biden now, trying to impeach Mayorkas for him trying to do the things that they are like, we have to do this. And he's like, all right, I'll do that. I'll go ahead and I'll try and fix this asylum process. I'll try and work with other countries to make sure that we don't have so many people at our border. And they're like, wait a minute. we're impeaching you now, even though that's exactly what we wanted you to do. Like,
and we're back on Mayorkas this week. That's what Mike Johnson said this weekend, that we're back.
Yeah.
You know, Margarine said she was going to introduce articles of impeachment for Mayorkas every week, I think she said, before Christmas, until he was impeached. And we know for a fact that these people are not allowed. Like, it doesn't even make any sense.
Sure, winner. Welcome.
Hey, buddy, how are you?
Good. How are you?
Yeah, all right. Thanks.
What's up?
I wasn't sure what blue wave was, but I found out in the comments, basically liberal people.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
We're taking over, man. It's a bummer.
yeah,
It's a bummer for those conservatives.
I just think politics is a stupid man's game.
Why is that?
Just stay clear of it myself, because both sides will do the same thing regardless of whoever is in power.
I think a stupid man's game is pointing at a game that they clearly don't understand and calling it a stupid man's game. If you think the Republicans and the Democrats do the exact same things, I don't know what to tell you. Like, I think you maybe gave up before you learned anything about it.
Right, so I know what they both stand for. So in Australia, the Labor Party, which would be your Republican Party, stands for the working class man, more so than big business and things like that. So this would be standing up for the everyday Australian.
It's the opposite. The Labour Party in the UK and in Australia is similar to Labour Party is another name for Socialist Party.
It would be the Democrats.
So that's
here.
not correct, but that was a good try, though.
Well, this is just what it's called in Australia. So we have Labor. We have two major parties. The two parties preferred system in Australia, which is Labor and Liberal. If it isn't Liberal, it is Labor, which is the side of politics that says that they stand more for the working class man than the opposition, which would be Liberal. But
All right.
again, I just think that politics is a stupid man's game, and I tend to stay clear of it myself. I think both sides.
Yeah, but you don't. But
thing.
it's a weird assessment that you made. Like, you said, it's a stupid man game, which I'll take offense to that, because I've worked in politics. I comment on politics. But like, your excuse for it's a stupid man's game is that to then say something that was stupid. You know what I mean? Like, this is here's what I actually think. I think that most people who think it's a stupid man's game or don't want to get involved, generally just like they don't like that their viewpoints aren't represented, and they just call it stupid, so they don't have to look into it anymore. I don't know how you could see the Republicans and the Democrats right now and even make the claim that they're the same. That makes no sense to me.
But that's not true. What you're seeing from him is not that. It's just that nothing affects him. Like, what it is privilege. That's what you're seeing. The reason that he doesn't have to get involved in politics is because he's not voting to hopefully not lose rights. That's
in
what
Australia,
we're
it's
witnessing.
illegal if you don't vote. So I have to vote.
Sure, whatever. Your apathy towards the political system is because he's affected by none of it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, but you understand that there are people who are, right?
So even if I was affected by it, they would still do the same thing, regardless of which party is in power.
Well, I don't know a lot about Australia's political parties or their legislative sessions. What I will say is I did watch a lot of Australia during COVID, and I watched how, unlike the United States, they didn't allow people to just stand up and propose insane ideas and spread misinformation in your I think it's parliament, right? Is that what you guys have, a parliament?
Yeah.
Yeah, they didn't allow that, but in America we did allow that. So, and that's why your country did much better when it comes to COVID than our country did.
Yeah, I mean,
I remember you guys had one mass shooting and you got rid of guns. And how many mass shootings have you had since then?
Look, that one mass shooting happened about 30 minutes away from where I live, actually, and I know a lot about it. So, yeah.
Well, if that was in America, you would have a giant lobbying group that were donating money to Republicans, to the right side, and they would make it so that not only would those mass unaliving events continue to happen, but the right would advocate that we have more weapons, that the solution to that is more weapons. And so I don't know how you can look at a situation like that and say the left and the right are the same, because that's not true. The left wants to do something about it. The right doesn't. The right wants to keep adding more and more.
So I'd say these are just views based on people who believe that these parties would do something when in fact whichever party is in power won't do anything different than what is already in the Constitution.
The thing is you don't have power if you don't have the votes. So even if the Democrats controlled the Senate, they would need 60 votes. They don't have 60 people in the Senate. We have something called the filibuster here, and you have to have over 60 votes to get things done. And our country is too politically divided. So if you won the House, the Senate, and the presidency, you still likely couldn't get that type of legislation passed.
Yeah. Look, I just think that...
But you understand how that's not two parties doing the same thing, right? That's one party standing in the way of getting things done.
So regardless of which party is in, the Constitution won't be changed. Your
that's
Constitution
not true. Well, that's
changed.
not true. There's small changes to the Constitution all the time. We've expanded the executive branch for decades. And there are people who would not expand that. Donald Trump is literally running right now on expanding the executive branch in ways that would completely undermine our Constitution. It would fundamentally change the effectiveness of our Constitution.
All right. So talk about a policy that's not in the Constitution, and I guarantee you, it doesn't matter what. Even something that's in the Constitution, this can't be changed. Any policy that's outside of the
marriage.
Gay marriage, right?
Yeah, that wasn't in the Constitution.
Right. So regardless of which party is in power.
But because it wasn't allowed. But when did it become legal?
So even if the Republican Party was in power, they would have legalized gay marriage.
No, they wouldn't. In fact, they were opposed to it. We didn't get gay marriage legalized until in many states you had a majority Democrat. There were no Republican states. There were no Republican majority states that were advocating making gay marriage legal. You're wrong about that. In fact, my state, I lived in Utah at the time, my state and the church that I belonged to gave $10 million to legislation in California that they were trying to allow gay marriage to be legal. And my state and my church sent money to California to fight against it. In fact, many states also at the same time, Republican states, introduced legislation called the protection of marriage. And they, instead of allowing gay marriage, they decided to put in legislation that protect the idea that marriage was only between a man and a woman. It's the exact opposite of what you're saying.
No, I guess it depends if you come from a more communist country or not. But what I'm saying is, I think we live in a fake democracy. If you come from a more
communist country, what do you mean by that?
So this would be this wouldn't be a democracy. I believe that America and Australia are both living in a fake democracy.
What does that mean?
So not a real democracy.
No, I don't understand what fake means, but what do you mean by that? We vote. Do you guys not vote in Australia?
No, it's illegal if you don't vote.
Okay, so it's okay. And then they count up the votes, and whoever has the most votes, they win.
Yeah, this is democracy.
That sounds like
Is it like the UK? Like in the UK, correct me if I'm wrong. In the UK, if you don't vote, they just count that, or is this Australia where if you don't vote, they count it as you're fine with who's currently in power?
Yeah, if you don't vote, they're generally going to.
It's like a yay for the person who isn't.
You'll probably get a fine in the mail if you don't vote.
Yeah, you get a fine and then and that's how but it counts as, if you don't vote, it counts as like, I approve of the person in power.
I don't think it would be counted because there's no vote.
What do you mean? Brother, look, I've got to be honest. I'm getting a little bored. Here's what it seems like. It seems like you just want to believe. I don't know a lot about American politics. It just kind of seems like you maybe think there's like a deep state or this global group of leaders and they're actually controlling everything and that democracy is a facade. But that's what fascists want you to believe. They want you to become apathetic. They want you to believe that your vote doesn't count. They want you to believe that nobody's votes count, so that you become apathetic, and the people with money get to continue to just do what they want to do. And fascists who convince enough of the populace that that is the case, those fascists are able to take over. This is a narrative that's driven exclusively by people who want you to be apathetic.
Man, I guess what I'm trying to say is, like, it doesn't matter which party's in power. They're all going to lie to you to stay in power.
Fine, but that doesn't mean that one isn't better than the other.
Yeah, so it's two sides of the same coin.
No, it's not. One side is markedly better. One side is advocating the continuation of democracy, and the other one is advocating for fascism.
No, I think they'll both lie to you to get what
I don't
they want.
care if... No, listen, I'm telling you, even if they both lie to me, they have different end goals.
Not if they're lying about these end goals.
Yeah, okay, that's true. That's true. If they're all lying, and again, this just allows you to be apathetic. It allows you to just make these arguments so that you never have to engage in any real arguments, right? You just get to sit here on the fringe and pretend you're smarter than everybody because you think the whole system is rigged. Well, I think that's a lazy take.
Yeah, so... Yeah.
Yeah, it's lazy, right? Like, do you know what the Democrat Party is campaigning on? Do you know what Joe Biden is campaigning
Democratic Party.
Democratic, thank you.
So there's extremism on both sides of both parties.
I get that. Yeah, I get it. But that's not the question I'm asking. Again, see, this is the problem. There's too many people. I'm going to be real honest, and this is going to sound rude, but people think that their views on politics matter, or that they should be listened to. But politics are tricky, and it takes a lot of research. It takes a lot of time and effort to understand what's going on politically. And you've taken the approach to understand nothing but make really, really definitive statements and take really definitive positions. But really, it's just you being lazy and not understanding things. And I'm not trying to say that to be rude, but like, your opinion means nothing to me because you can't back it up with anything. You've done no real research. You've just decided that it's something you don't care about, and that's fine. But then it's weird that, like, you didn't care about it, and then you wanted to show up and tell us all the things, like something you don't care about.
I'm just going off what I've seen from...
I understand that, but I don't... Why'd you...
Because I don't think that either side has a leg to stand on.
Yeah, no, I heard that, but I'm asking why you're here saying, like, you don't know what anybody stands for. You don't even know if they have legs. You don't know anything about it. You have no concept of what either side stands for, and you're just saying, like, blindly, neither side has a leg to stand on. That's because you're not educated on this enough. You haven't done any research. You haven't educated yourself.
Right, so I will tell you something, though, that sometimes I place a bet on a sport sometimes, and these bookmakers are pricing Donald Trump to be the next president at 2-1 odds.
So you'll do your research on betting lines, but you'll not do your research on what that means. Who the fuck cares you know why they're basing those what they're basing those numbers on? Do you know how betting lines work?
Yeah.
Because I used to be a professional sports bettor. That's what I did for a living, just so you know, before I did this. My entire living was made from...
Yep, okay.
Yeah, so let me tell you how these lines are made. The people that make that line, they set the line based on how they think the people are going to bet. They want the margins to be 50-50. They want equal amounts of money on both sides of the bet so that they can get their 10% juice, because they charge you 10%. Right? 10% of your bet basically is going back to the house. So if they set the line at 2-1, it's because the public right now generally feels like Donald Trump is going to win, especially the betting public, who is largely white, who is largely male, right? So the people who mostly bet, white males, or males in general, and males tend to lean more Donald Trump. So they know that they're going to set this line higher because they're going to get more people betting on Donald Trump. So in order to get it equal, they have to set the line there. So you have to risk more money for Donald Trump to win. Now, here's the problem. And here's the thing that you didn't do, Sherwinner. And I'm going to give you a free advice here. Now, this is not legal advice. This is not financial advice. But here's a little bit of advice. If you go back and you look at the polls in 2018, 2020, and they lost. And you know what I did? I made a lot of money betting Democrats. So I'm not, but I'm just telling you that the betting market aren't setting that based on who they think will be the winner. They're setting that based on who they think
What the public think.
the white male, are most likely going to think is going to happen. So if you want a winner, I would just take the other side because you're going to get plus money on the other side. Just
Yeah, look, I hear you. I understand that's how betting agencies work for sure. Yeah. When it's based on sports,
there's your free bet advice there. I bet
When
on
it's
the other
based
side,
on a
go get
sport-
yourself your plus money on that side.
yeah, but when it's based upon a real sport, they're going to set the money at more. So the who they think the outcome of the sport.
No,
will
they still
be.
no. It's still no. You're still wrong. It's not how they do it. They do
So-
it based on how they think the public is going to bet.
So yeah,
They're not in the business of picking winners and losers. Just so you know, in fact, if you go in and you try and become a bookmaker, I've spoken to many of them. They do not think about who will win and who will lose. Their only thought process is historical data. Like, how am I going to get these bets equal on each side? They are not picking winners and losers. Right? They pick what they think the public will think. And then they have to factor in, well, what about the smart bettors? Because there's some smart bettors too who are better at predicting games. So they have to factor them in as well. That's the tricky part about being a bookmaker. That's why there's only really like 3 bookmakers and everybody else just uses their opinions, like their line, to make their own lines.
Anyway, getting off betting slightly, but yeah, look, I think Trump is probably a shit politician, definitely, but he's a great
No, he's a
businessman.
great politician. He's a shit person.
Just said he's a
shit
great
leader.
businessman. You didn't
And-
let
and
him
a shitty
finish.
businessman, yeah.
You don't know anything about Donald Trump.
He's
definitely
literally
a good
under he's
businessman.
literally under investigation right now for tax fraud, and it appears he's going to lose all of his businesses in the state of New York.
Right.
He's bankrupted every single business he has ever started. Every one of them went bankrupt.
But how much money does he have? Do you reckon?
Nobody knows because he doesn't show us his finances.
But
Probably gotta-
he's a nepo baby. He inherited hundreds of millions. Like it doesn't matter how much money he has. Money makes money.
Yeah, so he used a lot of money to make a lot of money.
No, we don't know. I would imagine he has less money now
His
than what he
businesses
inherited.
went bankrupt. He can have money because he's a nepo baby who inherited it.
Yeah, and didn't he just pay out $100 million to a woman who he sexually assaulted or something?
He's not going to pay her.
And he's got a
says
problem.
He has
But that's
to
pennies
put
for
up
him,
some sort of asset while appealing. In theory, in the first trial, he had to put up something while he's still appealing the first verdict or whatever.
He put up and by the way, he put up $5 million cash because he doesn't pay his bills. He's such a bad businessman that bail bonds people who put up big bonds like this, they won't work with him because they know that he won't pay them if he doesn't pay it. So Donald Trump is in a weird, and by the way, he can't use campaign funds to pay for this. He has to actually use his real money. He can't use campaign funds to pay this off. So he's going to have to either come up with $83 million cash that doesn't link back to campaigns, or he's going to have to put up assets, which is what he's likely going to have to do because he's a bad businessman.
I'm not going to say he's doing really good at business at the moment, but he's definitely done really good at business in the past.
Well, maybe, right? But he's bankrupted. He's bankrupted every business he started. He's in the golf design bit. Like, he's in the golf business. There's not a single reputable golf course designer who will work with him. His businesses were run so terribly when it came to real estate that for the last 15, 20 years, virtually every real estate he did was a licensing agreement.
Man,
what he's good at is pretending to be rich and selling the idea that he's a winner. And because they're dumb, they just watch that on TV and they're like, oh, he must be a winner. But even the people he's in business with won't let him own the building because they know, and they won't let him run the business because they know what happens when Donald Trump owns the building and runs the business. So they're all licensing agreements.
But I still think he's going to be a good businessman based on the fact that maybe his business is votes. Maybe
that's not what his business is. What business is votes?
So maybe his business is, visibility and.
Okay, well, let's talk about that business then. He won in 2016. He's lost every election since then. He's gotten worse.
Guys, tap the screen. Let's get to 100K.
Here's another part you may not understand is that the president, the person in office who's endorsing people in midterms, matters, and that the popularity and the acceptance of the president matters in midterms. That's why he lost in 2018 and he lost in 2022. He also lost
Yeah.
in
So
2020. Every
are you
election
talking
cycle
about
since
federal
Donald Trump has
elections?
every election cycle since Trump has been the head of the Republican Party, they have gotten worse and worse and
Right,
worse.
but you're
They're
not
losing
talking about
more and
federal
more.
elections. So there's only been one federal election since
I
he.
know I'm not. I just explained to you what I was talking about. I just
Right,
explained that. I'm very aware of what I'm talking about. You don't
right.
know anything about politics, so I'm explaining it to you, and you're coming back with, well, here's some more shit I don't know. I'm telling you, he's a loser. He's a loser in business. He's a loser in politics. He was fortunate to have a brand and a name that people tied to success. But then when he became president, a large majority of people decided, oh, God damn it, we made a mistake. And the American public has been voting against him ever since.
Right, yeah. All I'm saying is, though, maybe he made a decision to lose a lot of money to gain a lot of visibility towards.
He had no, that's silly. He had just as much visibility then. And if he did do that, if he did decide to lose money to gain visibility, well, then he's even dumber than I thought.
Right, but it would have worked in order to become more visible.
Sure, but he's losing money now, and by him becoming more visible and more, that has opened him up to more lawsuits. It's a historically
Which he has
bad
a lot of
move.
money to pay off.
I just want to say that what you just said makes no sense. And I don't even think we should like acknowledge that as like a real possibility. Nobody would do that. That doesn't even follow logic.
I think both, Trump and
Yeah, I don't really care. I
Biden.
think what happens is you identify with Trump. You probably like the awful things he says. You probably identify with conservatives, and so you're up here like pretending to be middle of the
Like I
road
said,
when you're
politics
rooting
is a
for Donald.
stupid man's
When
game.
you're, I know, I've heard you say that before, but you don't seem to know anything about anything, so I don't care. But it just seems like you're willing to defend Donald Trump. You've just like, everybody's stupid, it's dumb. But I brought up Donald Trump, and you've spent the last bit defending him. You're a Trump supporter, and like all Trump supporters, you lie about why you're a Trump supporter. But the truth is, you're probably a Trump supporter for a couple of reasons. You probably don't respect women a great deal. You're probably not a big
That's a
fan of
huge
minorities. You're probably not.
accusation,
Yeah, it is a
which is
huge
not
accusation,
true.
and I'll let you answer when I'm done. You probably don't respect women's rights to choose. You probably don't think that diversity, equity, and inclusion are good things. These are just guesses because I can't imagine
they're
coming up
wrong.
here to defend Donald Trump and
I'm
being
not
wrong about
defending
all
him.
that without a motive. So, what was your motive to defend Donald Trump then?
Basically, I think he's a great businessman, but a shit
Yeah,
politician.
but he's a dog shit businessman, so you're wrong about that.
Yeah, so as a dog shit businessman, but sometimes in business, this is the way business works. You need to step
Yeah,
on
sometimes
people's
people
feet
are
to get
bad
to
at
the
business.
top.
You're right. Yeah, but that
No, what
doesn't
I'm
make you a
saying is,
good businessman.
no, man. What I'm saying is how business works is you need to step on people's feet to get to the top. This is all
No, you
business.
don't. No, you can actually get to the top without doing that. But he's not getting to the top in business. He's losing his businesses. So what are you talking about?
Stepping on his own feet. That's what you're missing. He's not stepping on other people's feet.
All right. So he stepped on a lot of other people's feet during this process as well.
No, he scammed a lot of other people along the way while he ran
Exactly
his
what
shitty
I'm saying,
businesses
man.
that all went bankrupt. He's not good at this.
Yeah.
Why do you
so-
like him so much? No, why do you like him?
All right. I don't. I think he's a fucking idiot, to be honest.
Sure you don't. Okay, then why are you up here defending his business record?
Because he's probably one of the best businessmen in the world.
He's one of
That's
the
all.
worst. What are you talking about? Banks in America won't give him a loan. He can't get somebody to
He
pay his
doesn't-
bail. He can't
do
get
you know
somebody to
why?
put a bond for
You know
his
why?
bail because he won't pay them.
He owns the banks. That's why.
He doesn't own the banks. That's another stupid thing you're saying. If he owned the banks, they would loan him. A book. I'll go read a book. Here comes the 3D chess. The reason he did it is because he was tricking everybody into thinking he was a bad businessman.
And this man, and also he doesn't care about politics at all, but he's up here defending a man who wakes up every morning and paints himself orange. Look, it just make sense.
And goes on a rant and goes on rants on the internet.
He owns the bank, so just to, as a psyop operation, he told them, "I own you secretly. Don't let anyone know, and deny me loans," because that always helps in the business community to have your financial credibility decimated.
It's the 3D chess. This actually, here we go. This goes right into our next clip. This is the type of shit that educates you. And I apologize, this clip is a little long. But just listen to this MAGA prophet. I don't know, what is his name? Let me click on the video. Did we get his name? Expand that. OP Brian Drew. His TikTok is something. Let me just play you this video of him explaining how, even though everything is going wrong for Trump, it's all part of the plan. Let me turn on the volume here.
Okay, so this has to be one of the biggest decodes I've ever done since I started doing videos on TikTok. Please like and share this video. If you have to, watch it again. It's very important. Now, we've heard time and time again from a certain letter of the alphabet, how do you legally introduce evidence into a court of law? Now, the Military Intelligence Agency has been collecting data for decades. But here's the problem. They couldn't use that evidence because of a certain term called the fruit of the poisonous tree, meaning if that evidence was obtained illegally or not by the certain legal terms, it could be thrown out by a court of law. Now, we've constantly heard from 45 that he caught them all. He's got it all the treason, the sedition, everything against the cabal. Now, as president, or even after president, he couldn't just go to the courts and just produce the evidence because you need to have a legal standing to present the evidence. And as we all know, the courts are corrupt. They would throw it out. They would be like, before it even goes to the discovery phase, they would say he has no standing, kind of like we saw at the Supreme Court level of the 2020 election. But instead of going to the courts, he's having the courts come to him. A lot of these court cases, especially the one down in Georgia about the election rigging, I think it's February 28th, which, by the way, is going to be televised. He has the opportunity to defend himself by producing the evidence. How do you legally introduce evidence into the court of law? He baited them into taking him to court to actually introduce this evidence that they've had against the cabal legally into the courts against them.
By the way, he baited them. The way that he baited them into coming after him was by trying to overturn an election in Georgia, by defaming a bunch of people, by making up lies about things that happened in Georgia. He baited them.
This is David. Yes, people saying that this is what David is always talking about. This is what David's talking about. When I sent this to you, that's what I said. I said, I found the guy that David's been listening to. Yeah, that David is David's source of information. And it's the same type of, I don't want to say logic, like illogical thing that our last guest was just talking about. Oh no, this is all a plan. He's losing in order to win. Like, in the end.
We've tried to explain to David, and somebody should explain to this guy that.
Explain it again, just in case people couldn't hear or don't quite understand.
All right. So essentially what he's saying is that Donald Trump has all the evidence of treason that he needs. And he can take that. He has all the evidence on the cabal that he needs. But because the courts are so corrupt, he can't introduce it to the courts because they'll just reject it. So he convinced them to charge him with something so he can introduce that evidence into court. Now, here's the problem. Couple problems. One, he's not provided any evidence yet. He has every opportunity to start submitting evidence. He hasn't done it. David believes he will do it all at the last minute, which you're also not allowed to do, by the way. You can't just give the evidence the night of. Secondly, there's evidence, like the evidence that you present has to respond to the charges.
Yeah, you still can't introduce any you can't just be like, oh, here's some evidence I found that has nothing to do. So you can only respond to the charges.
So they're like, wait, So did you work on getting a fake set of electors in Georgia? And he says, I have all the evidence right here that Hillary Clinton is running. The judge would be like, no, you can't. No, you can't do that. You cannot put that evidence forward. And we saw this in his civil trial in New York when he kept trying to introduce things that weren't part of the case. The judge is like, no, you can't do that. And by the way, it'll be stricken, to the point that they likely will have to like keep the jury out of the room many times to be like, you can't say that, and tell the jury that like this evidence can't come forward. Now, it is true that it's televised, and it is true that it'll be a shit show. And it is true that Donald Trump will attempt to smear everybody in court, but it is not true that he's allowed to do that or that it should work. So for the Q heads, like, I don't understand how you guys can read like executive orders and case law, but you can't just like recognize that you can't introduce whatever evidence you want in any court case. It's silly, but
they have no idea. That's the problem. They have no idea how the American legal system actually functions. And what you said is the biggest point, is that to this date, Jack Smith, they are appealing to judges asking, why has he not submitted anything? Trump isn't even participating in his own trial. You know who else did that? Rudy Kaludi didn't participate in his own defamation trial because he had no evidence.
Well, he's playing 4D chess too. He meant to be found guilty so that he could
see what had happened was,
so he could I can't remember which part of 4D chess this is, but I know he's got a plan. I know all these guys are playing 4D chess.
Well, that's what David said about Giuliani. Was like, why would they use all the evidence on Rudy? It's like, if you have the evidence, you can use it for Rudy. You could use it for Trump. You could use it for as many people as you wanted.
Yeah. But I think what he was saying is he knows that whatever evidence comes out is going to be struck down. And imagine saying that, like, imagine saying those words and then like not recognizing that you're just in a cult. You're literally saying like, hey, well, Rudy, all these other people need to go to jail because we need to save the good evidence for Trump. By the way, again, state charges. These are state charges. Trump can't pardon Rudy for these charges. So it doesn't matter if Trump then becomes president. He can't pardon Rudy for this crime. So why would Rudy not use the defense? Why did Rudy not know the defense? He didn't know. He was the president's attorney, but he wasn't part of the 4D chess team. He wasn't privy to the evidence. Just Donald Trump is holding on to it. Is that what's going on?
Make it make sense, but it doesn't, so we can't.
The good news is, though, they settled right down, the Republicans, this weekend, and they jumped right into the third conspiracy theory. Do you want to talk about that?
Which conspiracy theory are you talking about? Oh, God. You can talk. I don't even want to talk about it. It's just ridiculous.
Dick Morris. Dick Morris is now, and many Republicans are now saying
Newsmax.
That, again, yeah, this is Newsmax, that all this is because the Obamas have been running this administration from the start, they're going to just do a bait and switch and put in Michelle Obama last minute.
Yeah, like, I'm not clear if they're saying that, like, just because, like, you know, Kamala is an African-American woman and so is Michelle. Like, I don't know if they're saying, like, Kamala's wearing Michelle's skin or... Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, underneath her is Michelle. Like, I'm not clear on what exactly they're even saying, but this is another example. This is a Newsmax article. Like, this is a Newsmax article.
Dick Morris should be smarter than that, and Republicans should be smarter than that. Like, let's say that towards the end of this campaign, Biden drops out, right? Or before the end of the primaries, Biden drops out. He would have to drop out during the primary, otherwise the person on the ticket would replace him. If he dropped out right before the election, Michelle Obama wouldn't be on the ballots. Michelle Obama has to be the Democrat nominee. So if Biden were to drop out before the end of the primaries, then what would happen is you would have a contested convention, right? You would go to the convention and then you would take the delegates at the convention, and those delegates would vote for who they want the nominee to be. And those delegates' responsibility as somebody who is a delegate would be to go back to their caucus and say like and have a discussion, say who do we want to vote for, who are we going to vote for instead of Biden, because these electoral votes are assigned to Biden. That's what we decided, but he's stepping out now. Who do they want to go to? So even then, even if Biden did that and Michelle Obama stepped in, if she wound up being the nominee, it would be because the Democrat voters chose her.
Democratic voters.
Democratic voters, thank you, one of these days would oppose it, or I mean they would choose it. So none of these conspiracy theories make any sense. None. They just want you to think deep state all the time. They just need you to constantly think deep state, they're being slimy. It doesn't make any fucking sense. And yeah, and somebody said Gavin Newsom, that's the one that makes the most sense. He's been campaigning. He wants to. I've never seen any evidence that Michelle Obama wants to be president. It makes no sense, but you guys are convinced that Obama's this deep state. It's fun.
It's really racist. What it is.
Racist.
I mean, it's not fun. It's racist.
Yeah, that's what I meant. That's what I meant by fun. It's just it like, and that's the thing that sucks is that most Republicans, trying to be fair to them, most of them don't know it's racist. They don't get it. They don't know why this plays to their internal dialogue so much. Like it's so buried down. They think that like racism is literally just like if you see a black person, you scream at them and call them the N-word. They don't understand that racism is deeper than that. That's their surface level understanding. So when this type of messaging resonates to them, they don't even understand it. They're the most easily like tricked and easily conditioned and easily swayed group of people in the country. That's how Donald Trump is still doing this, because the people that vote for him just love to be swayed. They love to be led. Just put something in front of them and lead them around. They'll do it.
And the next conspiracy, or I don't know if it's a conspiracy, but it's hilarious, like, right? Because of the Chiefs and because of Travis Kelce. I mean, I just think it's worth talking about. Like, it's so embarrassing. Travis Kelce, like we've talked about, whether you like him or not, you don't have to like him. He's an elite level athlete. The Kansas City Chiefs, for years in the NFL, right, have been an elite team. Andy Reid is arguably one of the best, top 3 NFL coaches of all time. And if
Patrick Mahomes is maybe one of the top 5 quarterbacks of all time. They've been to the Super Bowl 4 out of the last 6 years. They won 2 of them.
Okay.
I was adding. Go.
Okay. Well, that's that. Yeah.
Oh, I thought you were going to explain the rest of the conspiracy theory.
I mean, that's all I was going to say. I mean, like Benny John. I don't know what you mean.
Oh, well, the rest of the conspiracy theory that you're seeing now on Twitter is that like this is just all part of the plan, that the NFL now is fake, and that they put Taylor Swift on there and Kelce because they both did, I don't know if they both did. I think Travis Kelce did a COVID vaccine commercial. So he's apparently owned by Pfizer. And Taylor Swift obviously came out and advocated that people vote, and they're upset about that because they think that they're going to vote Democrat because Taylor Swift's fans obviously aren't going to be attracted to somebody like Donald Trump. And so now the Chiefs are in the Super Bowl because it's a conspiracy and it's all scripted, not because, like you mentioned, that Travis Kelce may be one of the best tight ends of all time. He just passed Jerry Rice's record for most receptions in the playoff over a career. Jerry Rice, universally known as the greatest receiver in history, Kelce just broke his record. So it's bizarre, but again, they just like to be led.
Yeah, and here's the funny, I don't know if it's a conspiracy, like Benny Johnson's just like the NFL's rigged, like whatever, on any given Sunday, right? Like anyone who's if you played sports, then you understand that. But I think the more interesting type things that people are saying is like, here's a tweet from someone on the right that says, to those who might say, quote, the right needs its own Taylor Swift for young women to look up to. I answer, we already have that. And then underneath there is a side-by-side of Taylor Swift and Lauren Boebert. Reading the right says that they should amplify and promote Lauren Boebert as like the MAGA answer to Taylor Swift.
I am
I don't know if you know who Scott Greer is, but that's who wrote this. Scott Greer, 6'2", IQ 187. That's his name. He's hilarious. I mean, Hilarious as in ironically hilarious. Like if you want to like rip your hair out, you can follow Scott Greer. 6'2".
I thought you
IQ
found my
187.
burner account. I was worried. I thought you were reading my burner account tweets. That sounds like something I'd say. Yeah, Lauren Boebert, she has a lot to offer little girls. She does. It's definitely somebody you should have your little girls look up to. And just don't have her ex-husband around, and don't worry when she covers that up.
And here's Candace Taylor, who's insane and a flat earther. If you don't know who Candace Taylor is, here's a great
I don't know
one
who Candace Taylor is. Twitter star? Is that what she's like biggest on?
Well, I mean, she ran for office. Candace Taylor, like that you spell her, like it's Kandiss. Candace Taylor, the flat earther. I mean, she's famous for every single crazy thing she said. I mean, this is a big MAGA Trump supporter. Okay. I tried to warn y'all back in October that the influence of Taylor Swift on our youth with witchcraft was demonic, evil, and Luciferian. Of course, Satan wants to use her now to elect Joe back into the White House to destroy what's left of America. No surprise here. This is all just because the Chiefs won. Which the point... Just wait. I'm sorry. It's so confusing for people who didn't play sports at a high level. But like the point of athletics is not to be good in the beginning, right? It's to peak at the right time. Andy Reid, what makes him one of the best coaches of all time is having his team ready, not at the beginning of the season, right? At the right time in the season. And these people are delusional.
Year after year. By the way, Andy Reid, I don't know well, but like he runs in a coaching circle of coaches that I kind of know. I don't know what Andy's political beliefs are, but I can tell you that Andy has always been like relatively conservative, and he's a Mormon man too. Like Andy Reid's in on this too. But I wanted to just point out that the tweet you read from Candace Taylor. She has retweeted a headline, and the headline reads, "Internet trolls Candace Taylor after..." By the way, 2 S's. Is that not demonic? 2 S's at the end of your name makes a snake sound? Voldemort?
I've never heard.
Snake?
Are you positing that?
Yes, I am.
Okay.
I am. After she accuses Taylor Swift of celebrating witchcraft. And the internet trolls her saying, hopefully she turns haters into frogs. Which is...
It's yeah. Well, and here's another interesting part. So this is just one of those, this tweet didn't age well type situations. This is Charlie Kirk on December 26th. He said, the Chiefs are 3-5 since Kelsey and Swift reportedly began dating. Kelsey has caught only 1 touchdown during that span. Turmoil and infighting plague the Chiefs' normally united sideline. Yoko Swifto is real. This is the point of this is why I was talking about what makes a coach amazing. It's not being ready in the beginning of the season. It's peaking at the right time. And he's saying Kelsey has only caught 1 touchdown during that span. Okay, well, like you said, Kelsey just passed Jerry Rice's receptions. I think he's doing fine. Charlie Kirk, you know nothing about politics, and then you try to talk about sports, and it's even more embarrassing.
Yeah, Charlie Kirk spends 98% of his time talking about things he knows nothing about. He and Tim Pool are very similar in that way. In fact, both of them remind me of that guest we had from Australia, where they speak completely from their gut, with no understanding of other cultures and how other people speak. They just want to do the culture war thing. By the way, there's a real cute video out there while Andy Reid is on the stand receiving the trophy of him turning back, looking at Taylor Swift, pointing at her and giving her a wink. I don't think the infighting is happening. I can't imagine. I see all the other wives of NFL players hanging out with Taylor Swift. I see a team that's getting a lot of attention, and then they've been underdogs in their last 2 games.
Never made more money.
Never
made more, got more free publicity from Taylor Swift. The Chiefs organization is winning. Those owners have never been more thankful to Taylor Swift in their life.
The players get that too. Anybody that's buddies with Travis Kelce, they see him in a picture with Travis Kelce and Taylor Swift, boom, Instagram follows. Then you get endorsement deals. It's great. This is the best thing to happen to the Chiefs.
But and also, God, I should find this article. A long time ago, I included it in an outline, but I don't think we ever got to it. There's an amazing article about Travis Kelce and his brother. Is his brother's name Matt Kelce? Jason Kelce. And him and his brother's agents and their PR team who are making Travis and Jason famous purposely, right? There has been a plan to make these guys into a household name, to parlay into podcasts. Like I told you that he did a reality show a long time ago but back then this plan had just started. Just as from a PR and marketing perspective, if MAGA understood all you're doing is helping, you are making a man. You are helping him become exactly who he wants to be. And if you guys could just be quiet, that would be more hurtful, to give him less free PR, less free marketing, less advertising. Because the thing about Travis Kelce in terms of athletics is that man's a winner. Okay, unequivocally. You don't win all the time as an athlete, but that's what the point of being an elite level athlete is about. Doing your job at the highest percentage amount of times that you can, right? Mistakes happen, but it's about that percentage of times that you can deliver. He unequivocally is efficient and amazing at his job. And if you were secure in yourself, you could just say that.
Yeah, I'd like to point out that although it's not a podcast, I do something very similar. Felice and I are trying to make this work, and we're trying to get more of an audience. And frankly, I would like to add into my plan to date Taylor Swift. The problem is that everybody could have a plan to date Taylor Swift, but Taylor Swift doesn't date everybody. Taylor Swift still has to choose you, and that's what happened with Travis Kelce. So even if this was this big plan, kudos to Travis Kelce for getting Taylor Swift to like him. That's unbelievable. Good job him. He's also apparently elite at just getting Taylor Swift to fall in love with him, which I have.
Well, it's unclear. I just want to say as a PR, it's unclear if that is a PR relationship or not. I mean, the longer it goes on, the longer it doesn't look like it, but it certainly has been beneficial for both parties. For Taylor to reach a new audience, right? An NFL audience that she previously wasn't reaching, and Travis to get a hold of her audience and think about how much more exposure he's gotten to women, an audience that previously would not have seen him. So from a PR marketing advertising perspective, that relationship is very successful. Time will tell if it's real or not, but it could have started as an introduction and PR relationships. Those are very common. People don't really understand that. That's the rumor, I could give many examples, but one would be Kim Kardashian and what's his name? What's the SNL guy's name? That's rumored to be a PR relationship to distract from what was going on with Kanye, whatever.
Pete Davidson. Yeah.
To Pete Davidson. Thank you. Yeah. I could not remember his name to save my life.
He was moving along. I just watched, if you guys haven't seen Dumb Money, by the way, I think is that what it's called?
Is it good? I saw it on Netflix.
It's really good, yeah.
I watched way too much stuff. I was all up. That's the one thing, it's in my queue, but I didn't get to
It's kind of like The Big Short. They do a good job of telling it's a true story, and they do a good job of making it really interesting. I was a big fan.
What's it about, though, the Dumb Money? It's about which situation?
It's about the GameStop stock.
Oh, yeah.
And Wall Street, the Reddit Wall Street bets. Yeah.
The GameStop stuff. Yeah, so I am going to watch that. I was going to say, moving on to weird Republican stuff, did you see another good tweet? I was looking, Ron Filikowski posted that in, I think it's 2012. Ben Shapiro tweeted, "Fact, rap isn't music. And if you think it is, you are stupid." Well, now we have Ben Shapiro coming out with his own rap song, which is... I mean,
so good.
Rap isn't music. This rap, it's the auto tune. I can't even do it. I don't even know. I don't want to play it. I don't think anyone should have to. Yeah,
it's incredible. It's incredible. They did this. There was that other song Forgiato Blow did where he brought in I think Tucker was on it. Is
Forgiato Blow the MAGA rep?
Yeah.
Is he the one that has is in a video with Margarine?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, I do know who that is.
So what's funny is when you add somebody like Ben Shapiro, who, by the way, Ben Shapiro says he is like he's musically gifted. Like I know he says he plays, I think, the violin or the cello or something like that. He claims to understand, like, to be very musically gifted, which is a bizarre thing when you like he has no rhythm. You can't be good at music and also have no rhythm. And the way they had to auto tune this, like they have to speed up lyrics so that they can just keep them on beat. And the saddest part is this song is near the top of the charts, and that's all you have to do as MAGA. Is like you can make a fortune if you make something sound even relatively good. Every MAGA person and make it like something that's cool. So MAGA's like, oh, rap's cool, but we hate it. But as soon as it's a MAGA rap, top of the charts. And this will be top of the charts for like maybe another 4 or 5 days.
Yeah, because when I made my TikTok about it on Friday, I think like I made my TikTok because I noticed it was right next to Taylor Swift. Like Taylor Swift, one of her songs, I can't even remember which one it is, was right above him. And then I heard from like other people, they're like, did you see his song like went up the charts? I mean, obviously, because it just came out. Oh yeah, here it is. Nicki Minaj. Oh my God. This is a Hill article from yesterday. Nicki Minaj congratulates Ben Shapiro on #1 track. Why is this happening? What?
I'm looking at Spotify right now. I don't see
Why
that
would
in the top 50.
Rapper Nicki Minaj congratulated conservative commentator Ben Shapiro on his featured rap song with Tom McDonald, it's called Facts. Oh, God, which reached the #1 spot on the U.S. iTunes chart.
iTunes.
This is her tweet. I just listened to it at Ben Shapiro. Not bad. Nikki, don't lie to this man. Don't do this, Nikki. Nikki's setting us all back. This is the worst song I've ever heard, and it's so bad, you guys. It's so bad. So I don't know. Like, I wonder if he paid her for this tweet. Like, what's the going rate for Nicki Minaj to tweet to lie about your song?
Hold on. I don't listen. I'm not up to date on music. Do Justin Timberlake and Britney Spears both have a song called "Selfish" right now?
Well, I heard that too, Justin.
All you have to do as MAGA is like you can make a fortune if you make something sound even relatively good. Every MAGA person and make it like something that's cool. So MAGA's like, oh, rap's cool, but we hate it. But as soon as it's a MAGA rap, top of the charts. And this will be top of the charts for like maybe another 4 or 5 days.
Yeah, because when I made my TikTok about it on Friday, I think like I made my TikTok because I noticed it was right next to Taylor Swift. Like Taylor Swift, one of her songs, I can't even remember which one it is, was right above him. And then I heard from like other people, they're like, did you see his song like went up the charts? I mean, obviously, because it just came out. Oh yeah, here it is. Nicki Minaj. Oh my God. This is a Hill article from yesterday. Nicki Minaj congratulates Ben Shapiro on #1 track. Why is this happening? What?
I'm looking at Spotify right now. I don't see
Why
that
would Nicki,
in the top 50.
Rapper Nicki Minaj congratulated conservative commentator Ben Shapiro on his featured rap song with Tom McDonald, it's called Facts. Oh, God, which reached the #1 spot on the U.S. iTunes chart.
iTunes.
This is her tweet. I just listened to it at Ben Shapiro. Not bad. Nikki, don't lie to this man. Don't do this, Nikki. Nikki's setting us all back. This is the worst song I've ever heard, and it's so bad, you guys. It's so bad. So I don't know. Like, I wonder if he paid her for this tweet. Like, what's the going rate for Nicki Minaj to tweet to lie about your song?
Hold on. I don't listen. I'm not up to date on music. Do Justin Timberlake and Britney Spears both have a song called "Selfish" right now?
Well, I heard that too, Justin.
3?
When I looked, I don't know anything about it, but I used to like Justin's music. And when I looked up the iTunes charts on Friday, his song, whatever it is, it was at #1. So I don't know.
The thing to remember about iTunes is it's about like what gets played the most at that point. Like there are old songs. If you're looking at the iTunes, like you have "Live Like You Were Dying,"
old, yeah.
Tim McGraw. Yeah, Teddy Swims, "Lose Control," Lil Boo thing. That's like that was last year. You know, Teddy Swims is amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Anyway,
for sure.
yeah. Congratulations, Ben Shapiro, for $1.29. That song
For
can be
somehow
yours.
convincing Nicki Minaj to lie about your song. Because I heard it. I should. If anyone saw my
Are we
TikTok
allowed
I
to
made,
play
it was like physically killing me. Yeah, it doesn't say anything. You have
It's
to watch my.
physically
Did
killing.
you see my TikTok?
I haven't seen it yet.
It's
no.
me doing like a flag dance. Like it was so painful. I could barely make it through like a few seconds. No, it doesn't say like bad things. He's saying something about like pronouns, but like you said, if that's why, that makes a lot of sense why it's hard to understand what he's saying if they had to like speed it up or slow it down or whatever for auto tune. Because it's like it's not on beat and it's like he's just fast like talking. It's so awful. I can't describe it.
This is interesting. Gomez in the comments said iTunes is based on purchases of the song.
Oh, I have.
So these songs will often skew to an older demographic because they don't pay for streaming. So it's not
and
necessarily
that's
the
how-
most plays; it's the
That's
most
a great
purchases.
point. Thank you for making me feel so much better. And that also would explain, like, remember when the J6 hostages put that song out? I'm sorry.
That makes sense why Britney Spears' song is like okay.
When the
that makes
J6
sense.
hostages put that song out with Trump and it was #1. That's why, because a bunch of older people were buying it on iTunes. Okay, wait. I do have this clip. Please, I'm sorry. Cover your ears now if you can't. It doesn't say anything bad. It just sounds horrific.
Let's look at the stats. I've got the facts. My money like this, so my pockets are fat. Homie, I'm epic. Don't be a whack. Dog, it's a yarmulke. Homie, no cap. Look at the graphs. Look at my charts. You're blowing money on strippers and cars. You going to prison. I'm on television. Dog, no one knows who you are. Keep hating on me on the internet. My comment section all woke parents. And I make raps off compound interest. Y'all live with your parents.
He said, I can't even, if you go listen to the words, it's hilarious.
I have a question.
Yes.
I remember a very popular rant that Ben Shapiro went on about the destruction of American civilization because of the song WAP. And now,
he did do that.
If I remember right, he is saying that now too. Now he's allowed to rap about it. Now he's allowed to say.
Sense. Yeah,
Okay,
well, I
wasn't
think
sure.
my theory about him is like he backtracked on the rap stuff when Kanye went nuts, and then he became, and like when Candace also started supporting Kanye and they started wearing those White Lives Matter shirts and he started appearing on the Daily Wire. I think, well, I'm just saying, Ben Shapiro's about money, right?
Like they're late to adapt to things, and when they finally adapt to something, it's always too late. Like it just reminds me the video of the kids going, virginity is cool. Come on, virginity.
God.
Right, like the pastor who probably spent a bunch of time saying like that, chanting and stuff like that, like what up, like that stuff wasn't cool, right? That was destroying. But no, he's. So it's just too late.
Yeah, you're right.
But
He just too late to the party. But if you ask me why he rap song and make money off it, okay. Like there's nothing Ben Shapiro wouldn't do in the name of money.
that's probably
Which
true.
is, I mean, think about the Daily Wire. Like they must sit in their like Monday morning meetings and just be like, we will do anything, say anything. There is no bar that we will not sink below in order to make money.
They are desperate to be cool. They are desperate to be stars. Again,
What, Matt Walsh isn't cool?
well, I mean, he's cool, but the rest of them. By the way, cool stories you can check out on Miss Matt Walsh, where a bunch of people who worked for him unloading on what it's like to work for Matt Walsh, which is not good. But they all wanted to be movie stars. I think we talked about this on Friday. Every one of these people wanted to be a star. Every one of them started out in mainstream and they were just rejected by the mainstream. If you don't know how Steven Crowder got his start, that's basically it. Like he was a comedian, but he would stand up for saving sex until marriage.
He was in a couple movies too, wasn't like he was in a couple of things where I was like, oh.
Yeah.
Yeah,
and then he went on. He turned into what was that?
Next thing you know, he's abusing his wife on Ring camera. I was wondering what happened. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, there you go. Then you have the Daily Wire like transphobe basketball movie. I forget what it's called. Like
No, I
Stars or
never heard
something.
about. I did hear about it, but I think I just have to block certain things out. I didn't look into that.
It's called Lady Ball. It's called Lady Ballers.
Yes, yes,
and it's exactly like they just stole. Like this movie's already been done, right? So basically, men dressing up as women to win women's sports. Like that movie's already been done. We've done this already. But then the Daily Wire is like, what if we remade it, but we didn't have anybody funny, and we made it from like a real right wing like boomer perspective. It's like, yes, that's gonna kill it.
Wait, so was Ben a producer? What was he?
It's put out by the Daily Wire, yeah.
Oh, they're producing propaganda movies now. Oh, great.
Yeah, there's the people that are in, let me see who's I'm trying to find the names of the people who were in it. It's absolutely
I used to do this like
moronic.
not segment, but like this little, I used to do a lot of different things when I didn't do lives. I just used to make content. Like one of them was called like the Daily Wire Race to the Bottom. And every day I would like have this made up competition of which person that worked at the Daily Wire was the most awful. And like it tore my soul apart. I had to, I'm not kidding. I had to stop. I think I did it for a couple months and I was like, the stuff that those people are saying on a daily basis is so ugly. It was affecting me like emotionally.
Yeah. It's hard. If you watch, especially Ben Shapiro, you can kind of get through. I feel like Ben Shapiro tries his best to be like he's the most moderate. But if you watch Matt Walsh or Michael Knowles or Candace Owens, like it really is painful. And it just every time I watch it, I'm just like, there's hundreds of thousands
Matthew
of people
Knowles.
who
I
think
couldn't remember his name.
Michael
Knowles, yeah. He's the one that can't stand the transgender community. He's the one that said all that. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, but every time I listen to one of them, it's like, I can't believe there's thousands of people, hundreds of thousands of people who hear this and think these are good points. Like, it's just so phobic, everything phobic, literally everything phobic. Pick the phobic, it's that. Every show from Matt Walsh, from Candace Owens, it's just.
Well, this is a great segue.
The phobic show.
Do you remember, which I think I might have the clip. Let me look, but did you? Oh, I do have it. Perfect. So this is perfect. We'll just segue right into crazed Candace Owens supporting Charlie Kirk. And like, you know how Charlie Kirk's new latest bigoted thing, you know, ever since he started disparaging Martin Luther King, now all his clicks are coming from disparaging Martin Luther King Jr. And he's decided, since that piece of a plane fell off that airplane, that's all because of DEI. And recently Charlie Kirk on his podcast said that if he gets on a plane and sees that there is a black pilot or black employees on that plane, that he wonders if they're qualified. And he's like, but I'm not a bad guy. I shouldn't have. He's like, basically what he said was, I'm not racist, but DEI makes me racist. That's always, when you say something racist, then immediately back that up with, but it's not me. I don't want to be a racist, but diversity, equity, and inclusion programs have made me a racist.
If I was a pilot there, if I was a black pilot or a female pilot and Charlie Kirk was on my plane, I would 100% come on the intercom and be like, hey guys, I'm sorry, I'm really sick, but don't worry, we've got a white pilot here. And I would keep flying it, and I would give them the bumpiest fucking ride of their life. And then everyone's like, oh, the pilot's feeling good, and come back on. I would just do that every time Charlie Kirk got on a flight.
And I just want to be clear, because there's so many misunderstood things about DEI, and we don't have to go through them all. But this is a complete lie, what the Republicans are saying, right? The number one, you have to pass all the qualifications to be a pilot, right? It's just, let's say you have a pool of, 5 people who could all are all qualified, right? Have taken all the tests, passed the exams to be a pilot. And 4 are white and 1's black. They're all qualified. And you hire the African-American person. It doesn't mean they are unqualified. Everyone must be qualified. But when you know what I'm saying? Like, that's the fallacy, is just saying they're acting like if you're an African-American, you can have no qualifications. You can have never been in a flight simulator, but they're hiring people as pilots. It's a complete lie.
Well, there's basically like two ways that you can become a pilot. You can either be military and have been trained by our military to fly planes, or you can go spend hundreds of thousands of dollars going through flight school, where these privately run flight schools who, by the way, don't want to wreck their own planes, take you through flight school. You have to pass the test. The tests are very strict. They're standardized for
it's hard to get them, right? Like, so yeah, like the guy I dated, his family
black families who own their own planes in their airports, and they're just training their kids to fly the planes, and then they're getting hired. Like it again, it makes no fucking sense.
Yeah, he's just completely lying and disparaging the African American community. Which I will say, the best thing that's come of this are all the amazing flight attendant people that work on planes who are African American, that they're all just posting pictures, replying to all of these racist tweets of Charlie Kirk's, like just posting pictures of all of them, like about, in the cockpit or in the planes. It's hilarious. But anyway, so how this ties back to the Daily Wire and Candace Owens is her way of grossly supporting Charlie Kirk saying this stuff is, listen to this. I'll just let it be a surprise. What awful thing could Candace Owens say?
Unfortunately, that is the reality of what happens when it comes to DEI. And what he is remarking on is true.
No, it's not.
I would be terrified if I got onto a plane and I saw a woman flying the plane. And I know that we have the United CEO saying that he just wants to fulfill a quota. He just wants there to be more women and wants there to be more black people. And he's not concerned at first with qualifications. That is something that should alarm all of us, guys, honestly.
What alarms us, Candace, is you.
Wait, yeah, this is what they do.
Gross.
When the CEO of United Airlines never said, I'm not worried about qualifications. That's how they spin it. Again, we've just laid it out. But it is a worthwhile exercise to look at your hiring practices, to look at the diversity of your workplace, and say like, hey, maybe we need to add some diversity here. So yes, I'm going to focus on this. The reason you can focus on diversity is because there's already a level that's set. There is no part of DEI that says if you are not qualified for a job, but you are a woman or somebody who is
or an African American,
a minority, then you get to go to the front of the line. That's not part of DEI. But again, Republicans' entire strategy is built around scaring you of diversity, equity, and inclusion. So the only way they can do that is to lie to you. You can't show me an example of times that they're pointing at where any of the problems that are happening at the airlines come from diversity, equity, or inclusion. You can't point to a single instance. Maybe they're welcome in that field, but for whatever reason, that field is not largely women. But Republicans can't say that. They can't say that. They have to blame it on a pilot. The pilot has nothing to do with a safety door. He can't push a button and make the safety door go out. There's nothing that pilot, and it's not the pilot's job to check the safety door. You have teams that every time a plane lands and before it takes off, you have an inspection. None of this was the problem of the pilot or the staff. And they have turned this into a way to be afraid of black pilots or women pilots.
It has to do with what? Deregulation, right? In the transportation industry, who loves to deregulate the transportation industry? Donald Trump.
Oh, he loves that so much.
That's his favorite hobby.
He loves it.
Is deregulating the transportation industry. And that's why something went wrong with the plane. But just to again clarify, all these people applying for these jobs must be qualified.
Candace.
That's awful.
Let's go local. Let's talk about what happened this weekend with the AZ GOP. They seem to be very united. They seem to all be on the same page, very united, not crazy at all.
No one's crazy. What number or where is this?
It starts on 27.
Okay, cool. Yeah, so if you guys, oh wait, we weren't here Friday, so we never said it. I don't know if you guys remembered us talking about Trump and how he was supposed to speak in Arizona on Friday. Right? He was supposed to be giving a speech. The Arizona GOP is basically almost bankrupt. They are in, well, from what we saw this weekend, in complete and utter chaos. This was like the Hunger Games. I thought they were and Trump canceled, which probably was because Jeff DeWitt, so if you don't remember, the recording came out, the head of the Republican Party, or the chairman, Carrie Lake, put out a recording of him talking to her, saying people back east didn't want her to run for Senate or whatever, which Carrie Lake now, Carrie Lake is pretty much out of politics. What's your opinion on this? But this is the truth. If basically what Carrie Lake has showed us is that every time you have a conversation with her, because Jeff DeWitt is a friend of Trump's, somebody that worked with Trump, and also is a very respected, well-known Republican. I mean, I'm not saying whether or not he's a respectable person. I'm just saying the facts. But now Carrie Lake is a person who, anytime somebody in politics speaks to her, you have to assume you're being recorded.
So here's what we've learned since this Jeff DeWitt thing. Republicans love it. MAGA loves it. They're like, this is a deep state thing. But I think that it is very likely that it was Trump. Has anybody heard Trump talk about Jeff DeWitt? Crickets.
No, hasn't said a word. Did he condemn him? No.
Do you think Trump would ignore an opportunity to go after establishment Republicans? No. This is a tweet from Barry Markson, who's great. Barry Markson is very careful about what he reports. He said, I reported a few months ago, and I went back, I found this, that Trump was telling people he thought Carrie Lake was a drag on the party and on him. He wanted a different big name to run for Senate instead. I would imagine maybe the same guy who ran before, right? Jeff DeWitt has been a favorite of Donald Trump. He plucked him out to run the 2016 campaign. He was one of the leading voices running the 2016 campaign. He gave him a job as the CEO of NASA, and then he quit that job to go work for Trump in 2020. He says it's incredibly likely that back east people he referred to who want Kerry not to run are Trump and Trump people and Trump himself. Kerry orchestrated DeWitt's forced resignation as party chair by holding the recordings for 10 months and releasing one just before the GOP annual meeting. She's had these forever. Police talked about it. She's been talking about it for months.
Since the day after she lost the election and didn't admit she lost it, she said that this happened.
He said there's a good chance that Kerry had recordings of DeWitt saying something about Trump or others to ingratiate himself with her, and Kerry was using that against him. Kerry's plan was to install O'Connor as party chair, her personal puppet. Trump didn't like that or what Kerry had done to DeWitt. He immediately canceled his visit to AZ GOP and endorsed the opposite person from Kerry Lake. He endorsed Gina, whatever her name is.
Yeah.
Kerry Lake wants O'Connor to be the GOP chair. Trump went the exact opposite way, canceled his visit, and hasn't said a word. Party faithful know what Kerry did and didn't like. That's why she was heavily booed at the annual meeting. Arizonans are seeing who Kerry Lake really is.
They booed her. Like, I made a video just because different angles of people yelling shit at her. When she got up to speak, she was like, can we all agree that our elections in Arizona are messed up? And people are like, you messed them up. You did this. And these are all Republicans. These aren't Democrats. These are the faithful of the most faithful Arizona Republicans screaming. I mean, they're pushing each other out of the way. This was the most wild display I've ever seen. This party's eating itself. But I could not agree with you more. Like, think about it. Think about what's happening to Trump. I don't know, and I don't know that we'll ever know that. But think about what has happened to Trump in all of these court cases. He is basically learning one lesson, which is his entire time in the presidency, he was being recorded unbeknownst to him. And now all of this stuff is being used as evidence. Everybody from his lawyers to his aides was recording him. And now he finds out that Carrie Lake is a recorder. Carrie Lake and Jeff DeWitt were friends, very close friends. And if she will do this to him, all Donald Trump is thinking now is, how many tapes does this woman have of me that she is waiting to pull out? If you will keep a tape for 10 months to blackmail someone into resigning, that's not the Republican Party is too shady for recordings. Like, you know what I mean? They don't like this. They can't ever be in a room with her again. She tanked her own career.
Well, this is the interesting part, too, is that Carrie Lake, who knows everything we know, she knows who Jeff DeWitt is. She sees Trump openly campaigning the opposite way of her. Like, this is how culty this party is that it appears that whether Donald Trump was behind it or the people surrounding him were behind it, it's clear that he doesn't like Carrie Lake. It's clear that he views Carrie Lake as a drag. And Carrie Lake, after being they attempted to extort her or bribe her out of the party, and these were Trump people doing it. When she released the tape, just like he said here, she doesn't mention Trump, and she won't go after Trump. It's the only reason Trump is quiet about this. If Carrie Lake even has a sniffs the idea that Trump was somehow behind this, Donald Trump will unleash hell on Carrie Lake. And Donald Trump also knows well enough that Carrie Lake, she is likely going to be the nominee. And there's nobody in Arizona that you can replace her with that is going to get big votes. So, like, he might be stuck with Carrie Lake at this point. And he knows that, and he knows he needs Arizona. So I think Donald Trump is taking a calculated approach here, saying, like, I'm just going to not talk about it. I'm going to ignore it. I hope that it goes away, because Carrie Lake might just be crazy enough, like you said, that if Donald Trump turns on her, maybe she's going to unload. Maybe she's going to spill the beans. Maybe she's going to start cooperating.
Exactly. Like, who really knows what this, but that's the one thing you can't do, right? If you're running in shady circles and private conversations, imagine the Republican Party and what these people are basically. These are politicians who are blatantly lying in the press and then behind closed doors saying, oh yeah, we know the truth. And so if you have somebody who is litigious, right? She's known for being extra litigious, and now she made a big mistake. Jeff DeWitt out? Like, what's the point of that?
I was muted. For what reason? Too, like, even though Jeff DeWitt did this, like, she wanted his help. Was she? I'm wondering if she was afraid of what Jeff DeWitt was going to do. I wonder if Jeff DeWitt had some sort of plan to try and diminish her power. Obviously, not putting in O'Connor as the
I think they might back Sinema. Like, like they might back Sinema. They don't know what to do at this point, the Arizona Republicans. And that's clear from the meeting. These people are screaming everything but fist fighting. It looked like that scene from Mean Girls in the mall where they talk about it being like the watering hole, and all of a sudden they're all turning on each other and are like animals. That's what it looked like, this meeting.
Yeah, there's this thing in Trump world. Like, once you get into Trump world and you get into MAGA world, there's this thing where people think laws no longer apply to them, or rules don't apply, and that, like, you are somehow some sort of hero when you break protocols and you just do whatever the fuck you want. And we saw that. Kelly Ward, the former GOP chair, she just walked to the front of the line
and fake elector.
And fake elector just walked to the front of the line, ripped the microphone out of the next person's hands, and then walked towards the stage. And she is getting booed, and they're like, "What the fuck?" Like,
and
she
screaming at the people on stage while other people are screaming at her.
Yeah, just it was absolute chaos, absolute chaos. Just so you guys know, like, this is a state Donald Trump desperately needs, and the candidate for Senate is being booed mercilessly. Donald Trump desperately needs Arizona, and the party lost all their money. They coalesced around Carrie Lake. Now they're booing. Like, this is a disaster, and it's happening everywhere. The Republican Party is absolutely imploding, and Donald Trump is too prideful and to do anything about it, because in
Cheney, crackpots are off. It turns out are off the deep end and recording people. It's like Donald Trump did this to himself, and it's kind of hilarious.
Do you think one thing that happened over this weekend that I thought was a really good strategy from Nikki Haley? I don't know if we had the clip.
Nikki Haley had a great weekend. Nikki Haley had a great weekend. There's so many clips, but tell me what you're talking about. Maybe you
probably have it, and I was reading through, but basically what she's now doing is she's painting a picture as Donald Trump, the establishment, and she's talking specifically about South Carolina. And she's like, "Look what Donald Trump is doing. You guys are all upset at establishment Republicans. He's trotting out the establishment with him. He's trotting out Tim Scott.
She's like, I'll let you guys handle Tim Scott. Like, she keeps saying that because like Tim Scott's lost his mind.
Yeah, he might just be really dumb. I think that's where we're at with Tim Scott. He might just actually be dumb. By the way, guys, while she's looking for that, if you could tap that screen, see if we can get up to 200,000. We have not done our cheerleading job today.
Yeah,
that's
tap
on
the
us.
Screen.
But if we could tap the screen, if you guys could help us out with that, share this with your favorite or least favorite Republicans. But yeah, you're right. Nikki Haley had a really, really good weekend, messaging wise. I don't know if it's enough, but she was on point, and she is. Nobody's gone outside of Chris Christie. Nobody serious has ever been able to get away with saying this much stuff.
Trump, which he can smear and lie about and try to handle it in that way. Now we have Nikki Haley, who voted for Trump, who's a Republican, who won't even say that she won't still vote for him, but is now just dragging him through the press relentlessly.
And by the way, if you're looking at the 538 polls, Trump's numbers are largely like they're hanging on at 62, but Nikki Haley picked up 6 or 7% this weekend.
Yeah, Nikki Haley had a great weekend.
If she can continue to chip away at that lead, she clearly picked up DeSantis's people. She's clear, like DeSantis's endorsement doesn't seem to have given Trump the bump that he wants. If you look at when they both. Like
DeSantis' endorsement now officially means 0. After we saw him, that didn't mean much.
Like, she's a long ways back. Trump still has over 60% of the vote in South Carolina, but what she's doing is effective. And for her to be gaining in a red state, that goes to show like she could be viable. But more importantly, she just is continuing to hurt Donald Trump. The Biden team, like, they've got to be the happiest people on earth. The Biden campaign team, they don't even have to make ads anymore. They're just like, hey, can you just give us whatever Nikki Haley said and we'll put some music behind it?
That's all he does.
And then they just play it and it works. And then you just got Joe at the end. I approve of this message, and it kills every single time.
Yeah, Nikki Haley is basically now working for the Democratic Party and not saying anything that isn't true. She's still saying the truth, which is the numbers show that if Nikki Haley faces off against Dark Brandon in the general, the Democrats will lose. And also her point that the people that are supporting Nikki Haley are not going to turn into votes for Trump. They're saying they will largely turn into votes for Biden, especially if Donald Trump catches a conviction. Then all of her votes are going to Joe Biden. And Biden tore apart. So someone asked in the comments, Oh, Gorilla's back saying conspiracies. Are you here to say some more vile things?
Why don't you attack women some more?
Yeah, like come up here and tell your girlfriend's painful stories. So Biden did a very good job of attacking Trump. Like I want to play a couple of clips. Like first, I want to play this one. Which I think this is a good move for him, but he was attacking Trump for veterans, which. God, that's long overdue. Talking about Trump's shameful treatment of veterans.
Well, as commander-in-chief, I look at veterans completely differently than Donald Trump. Think about this, especially here in South Carolina, a proud military state. Donald Trump, when he was commander-in-chief, refused to visit a cemetery, U.S. cemetery outside of Paris, for fallen American soldiers. And he referred to those heroes, and I quote, as suckers and losers. He actually said that. He said that. How dare he say that? How dare he talk about my son and all of us just like that? Look, I call them patriots and heroes. The only loser I see is Donald Trump. Makes me angry.
Be us too. But yeah, I think that was a good moment.
While you're pulling that up, oh, never mind, you got it.
Yeah.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. If you ever doubt that, the power to change America is in your hands. Remember this. You proved it. You're the reason I am president. You're the reason Kamala Harris is historic vice president. And you're the reason Donald Trump is a defeated former president. You're the reason Donald Trump is a loser. And you're the reason we're going to win and beat him again.
It's driving him crazy. Like, to say Trump, it's not affecting Trump. Every time Biden screams that Trump is a loser, a little part of him dies.
And we know what his little part is. We know. Will you play one more clip? I'm not going to make it. I thought I was going to make it till 1. It's pee time. I drank way too much water.
Play one more clip of what?
Just play a clip. Play a fun clip. I gotta pee
just
so
go
bad.
pee. You could just go pee. It's okay. You can just go. Anyways, guys, let's tap the screen. Let's work on our finger game. Let's tap the screen. Let's invite some Republicans up here. Let's see. And then, you know what I think we should segue into after this is, I'm sure you guys, the White House pill mill story. Have you guys seen this report that came out? Which largely focuses on, this is going to come as a shock, Trump's administration. And Ronnie Jackson, who we already knew, according to news articles, not me, this is why he was dubbed Ronnie Candyman Jackson. And now we are seeing exactly why. So there's a couple. So White House clinic, improperly distributed controlled substances during previous administration, new report says. This is an investigation that was done by the Pentagon. The White House medical unit had severe and systemic problems with its pharmacy operations and provided health care to ineligible staffers before the Biden administration. And this is a Defense Department Office of the Inspector General that did this report. It's a multi-year investigation, which was prompted it explains Dodd Jr., was prompted in 2018 by complaints alleging that a senior military medical officer in the White House clinic, I wonder who that could be,
Are we talking about drugs?
In improper medical practices. The probe included on-site visits and focused on a 3-year period during the Trump administration, as well as employee interviews dating back to 2009. Because if you don't know this, Ronnie Jackson was
like the amount of stuff he was giving out to people who weren't like White House staff.
He was giving controlled substances to people that, not even people that were on staff that were supposed to be treated by the White House clinic, but more importantly, they were not being carded. They did not have to show ID and were picking up medication. And then they talk about the travel baggies. Anytime someone was traveling on like Air Force One or, going overseas, they would give them a travel baggie of pills without identification of uppers and downers, of Provigil, which is something that is used to treat narcolepsy. It's an amphetamine. And then of downers of things like fentanyl and Ambien. And
just in a Ziploc. Just a little Ziploc.
In Ziploc bags. Yes. And
that's crazy.
Controlled substances they're handing out in Ziploc bags.
I want to point, these are the same
but
people
voter ID, but we need to show ID when we vote. But
we found a little baggie in the White House of a white
Remember
substance.
that? Remember the?
Oh, it was the end of the world.
Remember
it was
the powder in the White House? But meanwhile, the White House pill mill was up and running
Yeah.
years.
Yeah. Straight from Florida.
Remember when
to
they were
DC.
complaining about fentanyl? Well, one of the most prescribed things, one of the illegal substances they were giving out the most was, what do you think?
What is fentanyl? Is that a painkiller? I don't even know what it is.
Yes, it's a painkiller.
Is that what it is? Okay. I don't know. Nobody's
It's commonly used. It's used just as much as morphine to treat pain. It's just like in terms of being able to portion it out on the street becomes deadly. But
Maybe
yeah, it's been used for decades.
Maybe that's why the Adderall shortage got better as time went on. The further away we got from the Trump White House, once Jackson got on there, I was able to get my Adderall a little more easily. Maybe that's what happened. Yeah. Look, by the way, I don't really care about this story. I really do. Like, it's not a huge story.
Well, it's illegal.
Like, yeah, it's illegal.
What was happening was illegal.
But what I care about is like the feigned outrage by Trump people and Trump himself. Like, he was on the rally I watched the other day. He brought up the white substance in the White House. He brought that up as a way to like discredit Democrats. And so like I'm not normally going to care about this. Like if my people in Congress are doing uppers, like I don't really like that's if they do good work, I don't care. I'm not somebody who cares about what other people ingest. It's not a big deal to me. But it's just ironic coming from the Republican side that they try and make everything into something drug related. The accusations against Biden that he's on something and that he can't even function if he's not on something. Again, it's a self-report every fucking time. When Donald Trump stands on stage and talks about, oh, Biden, he's so old he can't function without uppers. Oh, yeah, where do you think Donald Trump got that idea? Where do you think he got that idea from? What do you really think a guy that's in as bad a shape as Donald Trump could keep the schedule that he has without that? I saw somebody the other day tweet. Oh, only Donald Trump could survive the 8 years of what we've done to him, or 7 years. And I was just like, yeah, if I had all my medical care taken care of, prescriptions at the ready, a private jet, and full-time security, give me that for 30 years. Go let the press attack me for 30. I'll take that job right now. He's painted as such a hero for what he's done, and we know what he's doing. Like anybody who's used any sort of amphetamine for their Adderall, like they know what happens. They know why you get the cotton mouth. They know when Trump starts slurring and his lips stick together. Been there. That's why I have to drink so much water during these lives. Like I have to, otherwise my mouth dries up. We know what's going on there.
Okay.
And sometimes it gets in your system quicker if you take it other ways. Donald Trump. That's why a lot of that every day.
Yeah, and all these logs, it's like an 80-page report put out by the Department of Defense, like the Pentagon, you could look through it. But yeah, logs, it's just this is a clinic that's not doing surgeries. You know, they certainly have a lot of fentanyl and morphine for a clinic not doing surgeries. It makes no sense.
But at least that guy's in Congress now. That's at least we elected that guy into Congress now, which is good. What didn't we cover? Well, I do feel like, did you have on here did you want to cover any of the attacks that happened this weekend?
I don't know what you mean.
Oh, my screen just shut off. How's that all about? The 3 soldiers that we lost this weekend.
But you talk about it.
Okay, let me pull up the story here. So there was a drone. So this was in that's from Planet Labs. Tower 22. It's in northeastern Jordan. There were 3 American troops who were killed and many more wounded in a drone strike in northeast Jordan near the Syrian border. Iran-backed militia groups, I know, have been blamed for that. I don't know if they've taken credit. Somebody can tell me in the Discord. I know Joe Biden said that the Iran-backed militia troops were responsible, and that there will be a response. But apparently, an enemy drone followed an American drone that was going back to Tower 22, and then that's where the attack happened. So I don't know much more than that, other than We're going to have to hear about it all week. We're going to have to hear all week how this is Joe Biden's fault and Trump would have somehow stopped this, which is ludicrous. It gets old. It gets old hearing about people losing their lives, a nonstop war in the Middle East that we keep making worse and worse and worse. And then people get on TV and are like, it's Joe Biden, it's Donald Trump. It's not. It's us. It's like it's decades and decades and decades of being where we don't need to be, causing problems where we don't need to cause problems, and continuing to fuel this war that's happening in the Middle East. It's getting old.
Guys, tap the screen. Let's get to 210K. Let's invite some Republicans. I'm going to invite David, but he won't be able to come.
Like I can't even imagine at this point signing up for the military. I guess I appreciate those who do, but I would ask somebody who's in the military that signed up recently, like, why? What do you think we're fighting for? Like, what is it that you think would be worth joining the military for right now?
Well,
I'm not saying that there
I think
isn't
that's
one.
by and large, a lot of people that join the military and aren't officers do so because of socioeconomic situations. They don't have money to get an education or to get certain technical training otherwise. So for a lot of people, they're not excited. I'm not saying no one is joining the military. There are people who are like, yay, let's go, I guess, unalive people. But I think a lot of the people that join the military are in a situation where they don't have a lot of other options.
Yeah, I agree with you. And that's why I say I'd be curious if there's somebody that joined, like, you know, after 9/11, I kind of got it. There was like this patriotic movement throughout the country. There have been times of that. But right now, I can't imagine looking at what our military is doing or what our military is being used for and thinking, yeah, like I want to be part of that. I'd like to be part of that. So no disrespect to anybody who's in the military, no disrespect to anybody who's recently joined the military. I'd actually be curious to know if there's somebody that joined the military recently because they thought they were going to go do something great. What did you think you were going to do that was great? Because it's at this point, like every time the military's in the news, it's just something sad.
Yeah, I think that in this economy, there are so few options for young people. And I think that it's a shame that we provide so much or create so much scarcity in the economy, and that joining the military is one of the only ways to seek out upward mobility in this society. Military, we have engineered this economy and this society, so it's one of the only viable paths left for upward mobility. And that's a systemic issue that we need to address.
Agreed. Why don't we talk about the Daily Beast article? It was a bunch of other places too, but Trump's $50 million mystery debt looks like tax evasion. I'm assuming you've dug into this pretty good. Do you have the basics down, or do you want me to cover it?
You can, okay. I mean, I read it. I sent it to you.
Yeah. But, I had seen it on Twitter. It was one of the few times I saw something before you sent it to me. But essentially, now as they're going through Trump's records and you're looking at the public documents that he has submitted, there's a $48 million, I think it's $48 million loan. And that loan appears to be from Donald Trump to his businesses. But then when they've now, in going through the paperwork, they've asked for the loan documents, and they're now saying, oh, there's no loan documents. It's just a loan. But he floated this loan for 20 plus years. Do I have that right? I want to say it was like 20 plus years. Basically what he's doing is he's showing this loan as it's being paid, and you're able to write that off on your taxes as loan repayments, and he's using a fake loan. It doesn't appear that he ever gave any money, that he ever loaned any money, and it doesn't appear that money is going back to him. But even if it is going back to him, if he didn't loan the money, he's just enriching himself. And this is a big fucking problem because he's under investigation for a million things, but he can't prove that this loan exists. And his own staff, they basically say, like, yeah, there's no. Where was it?
This is what it is. Like, so Barbara Jones, who's the court-appointed monitor, she's a former federal judge who's the court-appointed monitor for the New York civil fraud trial, right? And they're trying to her job is to basically do an accounting of like what's what, right? And what she has discovered in doing this, let me see if I can find this. When I inquired about this loan, I was informed that there are no loan agreements that memorialize the loan. Oh, shocking. So there are no financial documents. If you've loaned $48 million, there are documents, right? Contracts that you can, use for forensic accounting purposes. But that it was a loan that was believed to be right? $48 million believed to be between Donald J. Trump, his personal finances, and one of his companies called Chicago Unit Acquisition for $48 million. So what that Chicago Unit Acquisition has to do with the Trump Tower in Chicago that was failing and it was hemorrhaging money. And it says, however, in recent, and this is the good, the one positive thing that she wrote, she said, in recent discussions with the Trump organization, it indicated that it has determined that this loan never existed. And thus it would be removed from any upcoming forms to the Office of Government Ethics. So now that they're doing this audit, and this is coming to fruition for the New York City fraud trial, the Trump's camp's the loan didn't exist. There's one more detail there. So there was $100 million loan, and it was from a group called Fortress, and they forgave half of the loan to Donald Trump in a settlement. What Trump then tried to make it look like is that he bought that $48 million that was forgiven. He bought that debt from them and loaned it against his own company. Yeah,
there's no evidence that he bought that debt from Fortress, and no evidence that he gave his company money. So just to add a little, I don't think I clarified that earlier very well, but go ahead.
No, I'm done. That's.
Oh no, were you done reading that?
Yeah. Well, what part do you want me? I mean, that's basically what happened. So the debate is whether the loan doesn't exist. There's no supporting documentation. He used it basically as a tax write-off. I mean, that's the bottom line. This has all come to light because of the New York City fraud trial and the accounting that they're doing of his finances.
Right. And Fortress, the people who had the loan, they say there's no paperwork obviously saying he bought it. They say that they had canceled the loan. Big problem. It's another big problem for Donald Trump that nobody's going to care about, because they'll just say that this is somehow a deep state or that he was smart to do that. But it goes, if this goes to show anything, take Donald Trump out of this. Look at all the things that you can do when you're rich. Look at all the things that you can do when you have hundreds of millions of dollars. You can literally make up loans so that you avoid paying taxes. You can we've talked about this before, but people giving themselves a loan from the company that they never repay. And then the company's able to write that off, right, against their taxes. So it's ways that you can pay yourself and line your own pockets without having to pay your taxes. And Donald Trump is almost certainly, he's already been ruled liable. He's almost certainly a tax cheat, and it doesn't seem to be getting any better for him. He doesn't seem, even his attorneys basically said, "Oh no, this is all none of this is true. This is just a narrative." But they offer no counter narrative. They don't say that they have documents. They don't say that they can prove this. They just say it's a narrative that's not true. That's their whole defense.
It's deeper than all this. I would suggest just reading this article, because there's also just Trump's trying to say Trump had to know that his Chicago business never gave him a loan of more than $50 million, as he claimed repeatedly. And this goes into details, and it comes out in interviews with the New York Times. It's much more in depth than this. He's contradicted himself several times. In interviews, he said that he owed that money to that company, and then in another interview said that the company owed him money. None of which makes sense in the final auditing that they're providing. Let me find this. In fact, Trump confirmed this arrangement himself. In a 2016 interview with the New York Times, Trump claimed that he bought back this loan from a group of banks several years ago. Trump said that he'd chosen to keep the debt on his books, the Times reported, claiming that he pays interest on it himself, despite valuing that LLC as worthless. None of this makes any sense. That's the point. And he's continually contradicted himself over and over. It's the same reason That the same thing that's shady about him getting loans from companies with ties to North Korea or whatever. It's because why are you hiding all of this stuff? And the reason is because when you when they have a court appointed monitor in Barbara Jones, whose job it is to do a forensic accounting of all this, what's coming out is that it doesn't make any sense. The only thing that makes sense is tax evasion.
Right, and this is the stuff that the Biden administration has proposed and Democrats have proposed when we want to hire more IRS agents. Right, it's these type of forensic accountants, it's these type of experts that are required in order to go through the finances that are. Tony's here. Tony said correctly. Yeah, like these types of finances are very difficult to understand. They're very complex. And so that's why we need to hire more IRS agents with the expertise to go through these. Like we don't have the people to do it. I wonder why Donald Trump is so opposed to that. I wonder why these Republicans are so opposed to that. It's specifically targeting people with a lot of wealth, and yet the wealthy and the Republicans are out here saying, oh, they want to take more of your taxes. It's unpatriotic. By the way, it's fucking patriotic to pay your taxes. So just so we're clear on that, like, it is not patriotic to defy the Constitution, to defy laws and not pay your taxes. That's what selfish people have convinced themselves of, that like is somehow it's the morally right thing to do to not pay your taxes. No, you just don't want to pay your share. You don't want to be part of this system. The money that's in your pocket, the money that's in your bank account, all of that money comes from the Treasury. That's our money meant to circulate. It's not yours. You get to use it. Sorry, it's not your money. I feel like it's a weird thing that conservatives have decided that, like, once money is in your hand, it's yours. Look at it. Does it have your name on it? It doesn't have your name on it. If does it get replaced into the economy? Yeah. Do you do that? No. What happens when your $20 bill rips? Do you fix it? I've got a $20 bill at my house right now I'm going to take to the bank later because it has like a V taken out of it. I'll give it to them. They'll give me a new 20, and that'll get taken out of circulation. They'll be reimbursed for that.
Okay, so let me just continue because I just want to make sure this is kind of in depth. So, like, here's the bottom line and the easy thing to understand. The same reason Trump got a partial judgment against him in the New York civil fraud trial immediately was because the problem is his financial disclosures, where what is on the bottom of every one, his signature, right? When you fill out personal financial disclosures, you attest every single time you sign your name under penalty of law that information is true. Right. So Trump had to know that his Chicago business never gave him a loan of $50 million, as he claimed repeatedly by signing his name on personal financial disclosure document, which is what? Fraud. Right? The same thing that got him in this trial. But what's coming out now, as Barbara Jones, the former federal judge who's sifting through all this, what's coming out is tax evasion, right? Financial disclosure laws require accurate reporting of debt. It seems clear that Trump inaccurately reported this loan, and it's unlikely that he will get the benefit of the doubt that it was a simple mistake. Why? Because $48 million loans, lying about them for years, is not a simple mistake. It defeats the purpose of the disclosure laws if the public does not have to complete and accurate financial information for their elected officials, right? So Trump had many opportunities to correct this claim, including not just in the past, years have gone by, but over the last year, because Barbara Jones has been inquiring specifically about this $48 million loan. And at any point, he could have backtracked. And as of his latest amended disclosure, filed in October 2023, he never did. He's still lying about this $48 million loan. Like, I just can't stress enough what a unbelievable deal this is. It's egregious. Well, and excuse me, and by the way, be egregious for any of the rest of us.
Yeah, well, Donald Trump owns the banks. I don't know if you knew that, so it's fine. But keep in mind that Weisselberg and everybody else at the Trump organization who has been responsible for signing off on financial disclosures and financial documents, every one of them has testified under oath that they did nothing without Donald Trump knowing, without the consent of Donald Trump. They've all testified to that. Let's please remember that, like, these aren't mistakes. These aren't things that Donald Trump's bookmakers came up with, and he just didn't know what was going on, and he signed them, and they're really the victims. They've all testified, and by the way, the people who continue to support him and work for the company, they've all testified that Donald Trump knew everything. That you were not, you didn't sign off on anything without Donald Trump, and he went over them. He knew what was happening. So again, if you want to try to defend him, it's going to be difficult. You're going to take his word against documents that are overwhelming, and then all the testimony of the people that worked with him that he knew what he was doing.
I mean, and the bottom line is this: like, it doesn't matter because he signs his name at the bottom of these documents. Like, it doesn't. None of it matter. It's his signature. That's why he got the partial judgment against him initially, is because he is signing these documents. And the point is just, while the reasons why he's doing this are largely unknown because he's not saying at this point, he's a liar. What we do know is that he misled the government for years about his finances.
Somebody in the chat just said Trump 99% con, 1% bronzer. That's pretty good.
Yeah. I mean, 1% bronzer, maybe 2 or 3.
It seems higher.
I would love to know, like, how much bronzer that man goes through in a year.
I want to find the brand. I made one of these days show up.
They even got a Harvard real estate professor in on this, by the way, which I love the Daily Beast because they will ask like a bunch of people about this stuff. And they got at the Harvard real estate professor, it's Richard Pizer. He's like, there should be an offsetting entry somewhere. I can't explain that. Like, they had so many different financial experts look at this, and they're all like, tax evasion.
We are improving. That's 3% bronzer, 97% conzer. That's pretty good. We've now added a zer at the end of con. That's beautiful.
The Daily Beast consulted multiple tax experts to analyze the new revelation, and the general opinion was that Trump may have created a fake loan to avoid income taxes. And it also references, like, I love Mother Jones, like Mother Jones, who did all the reporting on Clarence Thomas? It will come to me later. But anyways, Mother Jones does great financial...
Atlantic?
No. It does great financial reporting. And it matches a 2019 analysis. Like, all of this lines up with another financial analysis done by Mother Jones, which concluded that Trump may have committed tax fraud by fabricating... ProPublica, yes, that's it. Mother Jones and ProPublica are probably my favorite, like, in terms of articles for financial fraud, like forensic accounting. They do an amazing job. And Mother Jones, completely independent, did another financial investigation that included this loan in 2019. And they concluded the exact same thing, which was that Trump may have committed tax fraud by fabricating the loan, making it look like his LLC still owned a debt that had in reality been fully forgiven. That would have allowed Trump to duck taxes on 48 million of canceled debt, a rate which could run up to 39%. And we know we know the billionaires don't pay any 39% in any taxes, right?
Well, and look, what's the defense going to be here? There's only one way that this isn't tax fraud, and that's that Donald Trump produces documents proving that it's not. That's the only option here. Like,
if he had him, he would have. Years ago.
I've been audited by the IRS. You don't get like a whoopsie. They don't care if it's a whoopsie. They don't care if it's a mistake. Like, you broke the law and you did it repeatedly. That's the difficult part here. If you can't produce original documents showing that this loan existed, like, you're fucked.
Well, it's called collateral.
He's fucked on this one.
Because, right, like, you can make claims on tax forms, but then what you have to provide is the collateral that backs up those numbers, right? But this is the thing, and you're absolutely right, that would never fly for you, it would never fly for me. But what we have learned is, and what we know is that a full audit of Trump has put numbers on tax forms, but he has never provided the collateral to back up those numbers. This is a man who has never paid his taxes in this country, who has paid more outside of this country than he has inside of this country.
And look, if you think that last week getting an $83 million judgment was a problem for Donald Trump, and nonsense. Like, I spent an hour this weekend in Republican lives, and that one Republican live was insane to me. Like, it's people that are making new arguments that you've never heard in your life that don't make any sense. The deep state is so expansive now that they literally cover everything. The deep state is literally everybody not wearing a MAGA hat and sitting behind a cardboard cutout. The rhetoric has become more insightful. Not insight, like insight, INCITE. Is that a word, do you think? Insightful?
Insightful is a word, but not the way you're trying to use it.
Well, can I use it that way? What would be the right word?
You're trying to use the INCITEFUL. I mean, maybe it could be, but I think you're going to constantly be mistaken for the other insight, you know.
This is why I work with a former teacher. She corrects my language. Anyways, like it is far more violent. It's far more ridiculous. Like, we're getting, I'll keep saying, we're getting to that point where like the power structure has
incendiary.
collapsed. Like,
just use incendiary.
Incendiary. That's lovely. Incestuary.
Love vocab.
The group, the MAGA group, the tight-knit group, like, it's gotten smaller, and the proof is overwhelming, and the blinders have never needed to be stronger. Like, we're running out of gray area with Donald Trump. And that's where we're seeing like the most violent rhetoric. I am, honest to God, I'm nervous. I am nervous that we're headed towards violence. You hear Republicans calling for it every day now. Charlie Kirk's calling for it. Tim Pool's calling for it. Texas is calling for it. Every major right-wing influencer is calling for it. And what they're saying is like, oh, we're going to be violent unless you do what we say. And what we say you have to do is ignore reality and come live in Conspiracyville with us. And if you don't do that, we're going to be violent. I don't pity those who live in red areas. I don't pity those who have family who are red, especially if you're living with your family, because the rhetoric that's coming out now is advocating actual violence. It's advocating that, like, okay, we can't win in the courts. We can't win in the court of public opinion. We can't win elections. So now we have to be violent. And that's where we're getting.
But in the process of doing that, you're also stamping on your own arguments, MAGA. Like the same argument you make for 2A, right? The Constitution, right? You're invalidating that same argument with what's happening at the border, because the Constitution, right, also says that Biden has the right of way, right? The Supreme Court does.
And
that's why, like what we talked about from the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals in Pasadena, Biden wants people claiming asylum to stop in another country and claim asylum there first before they show up here. And that violates federal immigration law. So either you can't have it both ways. You can't make the argument to protect the Second Amendment that the Constitution is the end all be all and then shirk it when it's convenient for you. Follow your line of logic.
Well, yeah, look at what Greg Abbott did in order to justify what he's doing in Texas. He's invoking a part of the Constitution and then he's acting on his own accord. Well, that's not how this works. Right? Like, if you don't believe that our federal government is doing their job and that they're protecting the border, what's not in the Constitution is that you then get to essentially secede and do what you want. No, we have courts for that. But every move Republicans are making right now are flying in open defiance of how our Constitution was written. If Greg Abbott has a problem with what's happening, he needs to petition the courts. But he's not. He's ignoring a court order about one specific thing, and then he's just deciding on his end when he wants to be active, when he wants to activate the troops. He thinks it's his role as governor to interpret the Constitution. It's not his role. That's the role of the courts. In everything that Republicans are doing right now, you are spitting in the face of democracy and of the Constitution. I will not hear Republicans one more day tell me that they give a fuck about our founding fathers, that they give a fuck about the Constitution, that they give a fuck about the rule of law. No, you are all babies. You are babies who don't understand how the Constitution works. You are being led down the road of disaster by people who either are too stupid to realize what they're doing, or they realize what they're doing and they don't care. because they would rather have power than to have our structure, our constitutional structure, stay intact. And that's what you're seeing, and that's what you're defending, MAGA. You're defending people who want to completely obliterate our Constitution and our rule of law, just because nobody likes what the fuck you have to say. Your ideas suck. They don't work. Your ideas are just to attack women, not to attack minorities, to attack trans people, to complain, to cry, to take your ball home, to bitch and moan. That's your whole platform now at this point. We're not getting our way, and so we're gonna activate the National Guard. Don't say dumb shit. Have better ideas. Have ideas that people give a fuck about. You've spent all this time alienating people, and now you're shocked when you're sitting on over there by yourselves and nobody wants to play with you anymore. Nobody wants to listen to you anymore. You did this. You made the bed, lay in it. Where's that idea? Where's the idea of accountability? Where's that idea? We don't care about that anymore. You had ideas, they sucked, no one voted for them, and now you're getting violent. There's no accountability over there. There's not real alpha men over there. It's a bunch of crying little babies. And I say alpha men because everybody knows women don't have a goddamn say when it comes to the GOP. Their voices don't mean dick. So I'm going to blame it on men because we know they're not listening to the women over there. But I'm tired of you guys don't bring up the Constitution anymore.
Well, it's the same thing with these alpha men too. It's the same men that are like, stop crying, liberals. Stop talking about DEI. It's a meritocracy. Let's fight it out. And then in the next breath, all the brown people are coming over the southern border and they're going to replace me. Well, isn't this a meritocracy? Don't you guys want the best person for the job to get the job? Isn't that your argument against DEI? But in the next breath, you invalidate your own argument with the hypocrisy of the replacement theory. Either you guys want a meritocracy or you don't. Saoirse, I love that name.
How are you?
Good. Welcome. What's up?
Much love to you both. Just wanted to put that out there.
I appreciate that. That's good for you to say after like 2 seconds ago you saying we were afraid of you, but that's good. I like that.
Why you weren't accepting guests? I didn't know if that was like standard on your platform. I didn't want to break protocol. You know.
That's why you called us afraid, probably, right? You were just checking protocol. Yeah.
Well, I was. That's definitely a chin check there. But I'm curious. You know what you all would say, and really open for discussion, right? What you all would say when millions and millions of low-skilled labor is coming in to replace our American low-skilled labor. Like, what would you say to our Americans? If you
the replacement theory. Here we go again. You're basically making this you're making my point now. So thank you for coming up here and making my point. But
why did you assume
we have 11 million jobs right now, 11 million jobs of unskilled labor that are open in this country that are not being filled by Americans who don't have jobs. So no, that's what you just said is not true. No one's being replaced. We have 11 million unfilled, unskilled labor positions available right now that nobody is doing.
Why are you assuming that everybody at the border is unskilled? What does that say about you? That you assume that because they're at our southern border and they're brown, they're unskilled?
No, we have nothing to do with skin color. And I never said replacement. What I said was...
You said replacement.
No, you said they were replacing American unskilled laborers with people from the southern border with their unskilled labor. And I'm telling you that that's false. Currently in this country, there are 11 million available, unfilled, unskilled labor positions that nobody is filling, that we need people to do. So that is not true. But yes, people can seek asylum. They can be doctors, they can be engineers, they can be any type of person. So not everyone crossing the border is just going to provide unskilled labor, right?
Over the border. Sorry, not through the border like that. Sorry about that. But I wanted to add that if you actually take a look at the precincts in New York City and actually the sheer, because I came out of Southside Chicago, the sheer amount of immigrants that are on the streets starving, you would be absolutely blown away. There is so many undocumented.
Are you changing your argument now?
No, without.
He completely pivoted to a new one because his
you
first
started this-
argument was completely false.
Your first argument was they're here to replace our labor, and now you're saying like that we don't care about the amount of people who are homeless. Like, is that what you're saying?
But you're doing it. You're doing harmful. You're doing harm to two sides. You're basically you're increasing the supply, right? You're increasing the supply of low-skilled labor, which is exactly what you're doing, to our Americans, our low-skilled Americans.
Two assumptions.
Yeah, you're again saying things that are not true.
You're assuming that
I'm
that people
saying things that are absolutely true.
Hold on, real quick. I just want to know if you're going to back that up. One, how do you know that the people at the southern border are unskilled? And two, how did you determine that the people you saw on the south side of Chicago were illegal? It seems like you're looking at people and you're judging them based on how they look. People are upset that I pulled the race card, but it does seem like you are making a lot of judgments based on just what people look at, because you have no idea if the people at the southern border are skilled or unskilled. You have no idea just by looking at somebody on the street if they are legal or illegal. So are you going and asking each person on the street, are you here legally or illegally? Is that how you're getting that information?
Logic to assume that
No, not logic. No, that isn't logic.
We're going to use logic.
You're not using logic. Your logic collapsed upon
Can I
itself
make a
with
point?
your first claim that was
What
incorrect.
logic? What logic are you using here? Let's talk about Chicago. What logic are you using?
Someone that is a doctor in Colombia, which I am in now, Colombia, right? A doctor in Colombia is not going to risk their life, their family, to come over the border, which is incredibly dangerous. They have to go through the Darien Gap. It's incredibly dangerous what they have to do to get here, right, to America. And Are you assuming that all of those people came over the Darien Gap? How do you know how they got to the border?
I know exactly.
Because Colombia is a corridor.
No, how do you know how they got to the border?
I'm telling you exactly how they come over.
There's no planes. There's no cars. There's no other way to get to the border. It's only walking.
Yeah, do you have any idea what you're even research? Do you even what you're talking about?
Yeah, I do. I know that there's a lot of people that come to the border who flew to border towns first.
Okay, they got tickets, right? Okay, they got tickets. You're saying that they're high-skilled labor out of Colombia. They're going to risk their life to go through the border, which is incredibly dangerous. There's no food. There's no water.
Yeah, because that's what asylum seekers do. They're in danger where they are, so they make a dangerous journey. Do you not understand what the point of seeking asylum is? You are in danger.
You're saying that high-skilled labor is coming over the border?
Yes,
is that what
because you're not seeking asylum because you're a high-skilled laborer. You're fleeing.
You're fleeing. Okay, so do you know anything about the economics in South America to make that statement?
Oh yeah, I used to live there. So please don't tell me anything about the economics of South America. I actually have a history degree. Please, you have no idea. You're talking to the wrong person.
Which country specifically is having excessive problems outside of Venezuela?
Which country isn't? It's a shorter list to name a country that isn't. Every single country in South America is currently being economically destabilized. Right now in Ecuador, do you understand what's going on in Ecuador?
I do, yeah.
Okay, so many countries is the answer. Don't try to give me a quiz. Show me a country and I will show you economic unrest in South America, and you know it. So stop.
Yeah, you're calling bullshit. No, that's absolutely garbage. And you're calling the United States.
It's not garbage. It's a fact. It's a fact.
So you haven't looked at the amount of homeless people and immigrants in Chicago on the streets.
Oh, he's back to Chicago. Why is it that MAGA always talks about Chicago? Oh, he's an expert on South America, but now we're in the mean streets of South Chicago.
And you're not looking at the amount of immigrants that are on the streets starving, and you want to bring in.
Where are you getting that number from?
Where are you getting? I have not said a one number. Give me a statistic. How many immigrants are on the streets of Chicago? And please cite your source so we can look into that. Cite your source. Cite your source.
And they're starving. They have no food.
Cite your source.
What you're doing is you're flooding them with more supply.
All right, here's the deal. We got to mute. Yeah, I got to mute you for a second because here's the deal. You don't get to come up here and narrativize. When you make a claim, cite your source. So when you say that I'm not, no, you didn't.
Yeah, I walked.
You haven't cited a source. What is your source?
He walks the streets of Chicago counting brown people.
Oh, yeah.
He walks the streets of Chicago counting brown people, everyone.
Yeah, they're everywhere. They're absolutely everywhere. And they were
You happen to live what part of the South?
He doesn't know if they're citizens or not. This guy is racially profiling people.
No, I'm not. I'm actually stating a fact.
Hey, what were your
you're
cross
doing
streets?
is,
Excuse me, be quiet. Be quiet. What were your cross streets when you lived on the south side of Chicago?
33rd, and I actually lived in Bridgeport, which is south side.
33rd and what?
He's not from south side.
Oh, he said he was from the south side of Chicago. So there's another lie we've caught you in. He comes up here and says he's from the south side of Chicago.
I am. Yeah, Bridgeport is in the south side of Chicago. That's correct. Yeah, 33rd Street.
That's not what they mean by the south side of Chicago, my friend.
33rd Street and Haviland. That's correct.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah,
that's exactly where I came from.
And you walked up and down the streets and you asked,
counting brown people, racially profiling people, and now he's up here making up lies about South America.
Yeah, all you have to do is use your eyes.
No, I'm asking you a question.
Absolutely
did you go up and down and ask? How do you know the legal status of the people that are on the street? How did you figure that out?
I actually speak a little Spanish enough to know, and I actually have friends all over Southside Chicago.
He speaks a little Spanish enough to count whether or not people are immigrants. What are you talking about?
Did you ask them? Did you ask them?
My friendship network, one of my best friends. Yes, one of my best friends.
How many did you ask? I don't care about your story about your best friend. Shut up. I'm going to mute you again.
He's pivoting again.
I'm asking the questions here. How many people did you ask?
I'm answering your question.
How many people did? No, I don't care about your narrative. How many people did you ask? How many people did you ask?
I used him and our network of Spanish-speaking people.
How many people did you ask?
There are so many without work.
How many people did you ask?
And he told me thousands.
How many?
He heard from another brown person.
Dozens, my man. Dozens.
Dozens. And you think, so you think even if you ask dozens, you think dozens is good enough? That's a good enough sample size for you now to generalize everybody that's unhoused. Are there dozens of unhoused people?
Yeah, and we're looking at thousands on the street, immigrants that are starving. Yep, that's correct, buddy.
No, those are just citizens. You were racially profiling Spanish-speaking American citizens, and that's vile.
Yeah, and they're all over New York City, and you know it, and we all know it. The news.
Oh, and you know it. Now it's just that you know it. Now you know it, guys. I'm not going to use any data whatsoever, but you know it.
Reports are all over the news. What do you mean?
Reports are all over the news. Reports are all over the news. I can't cite anything, but I'm going to keep yelling things. Cite a source, bitch.
Source. You can use your own.
Cite a source. Cite a source. So that's www. what?
New York Post. It's all over your own.
New York Post what?
Yeah.
New York Post. What?
The New York Post is owned by Rupert Murdoch, you genius. You don't even know what you're talking about. You literally are talk about low information. I've never spoken to someone with less information in their brain.
And let's do you want to stay on? We can stay on this topic, right? Because it's obvious that they're flooding the whole.
No, we can't, because here's the problem.
It's obvious. I have no information about anything. I don't even know that Rupert Murdoch owns the Post.
First-hand information in my network. Plus,
the problem. Here's the problem. Here's
all over the news.
Be quiet. Be quiet. Nobody cares. Nobody cares. Here's the problem.
I know you don't care.
You're making because you are heavy.
Because you're flooding the country.
Shut the fuck up. You're heavy on feelings. And that's all you're giving us right now. And you're trying to spin a narrative. And the reason that you're getting pushback is because around here, when we say something, we back it up with a source. I don't give a shit. I don't give a shit about what your friends say or what the news says. Cite me a source. Cite me a source that says, no, you said New York Post. Now I'm going to ask you to cite, goddamn, shut the fuck up while I'm talking. Cite me a, shush. All right, we got to mute him. Shush when I'm talking. I'm going to ask a very specific question. Cite me a source that says, one, that the people who are at the southern border are here to replace unskilled labor, and two, cite the source that tells me the amount of people are on the south that are homeless on the south side of Chicago who are here illegally. Can you cite me a source for either of those two claims? You can unmute now.
And all you have to do is mute.
Oh, you were talking the whole time?
All you can do is
you were muted. Oh my God, dude! I asked you to cite a source, and you just talked the whole time and didn't know you were on mute.
Yeah, I just told you.
Cite the source or shut up.
New York Post.
www.
New York Times. New York Post.
Backslash what?
New York Times.
Backslash what?
It's
www.newyork.
They all agree with
I'm so scared of brown people.
No, not at all. High skilled labor.
You're terrified. I have never met a more terrified man in my life than you.
Actually, no. High skilled labor is not being replaced. High skilled labor.
And it's terrified.
What is your source, you potato? Give me a source.
What you're doing
Give
is
me a source.
What you're doing is
give me a source. Give me a source. Nobody cares about your narrative. And remember when you said check the like? You got 0 coins, dude. Nobody gives a shit what you're saying. But give me a source.
Give me a source. New York Times.
Backslash what?
Put in New York Times.
You don't just name. You don't name publications. Then you have to point to the article that has the data, and then we'll take that data, right, and go to a government or primary source.
Okay, let's do it.
Right? That's how research works, sir. You've provided not one piece of information.
Here we go.
Except for you crying because brown people are in Chicago.
That's your link right now from a Democrat source. NewYorkTimes.com/2020.
It's a Democratic source.
New York
the
Times.
adjective of Democrat is Democratic.
New York Times is on the left. Period. We all know that.
If I say period, no, they write right leaning. There's people that work there that are right leaning too. Period.
Don't explain that to him. He has no idea what he's talking about.
If they say period
he has no idea what he's talking about.
But give us the source. NewYorkTimes.com/what?
It's from your own publication.
Backslash what?
I'll send you the. Maybe I can send you the link.
Just tell it to me. Backslash what? What's the article headline? I'll find it by that. Read the headline.
Guys, tap the screen.
Read the headline.
New York Times immigration problem. Just put that in Google, right? And the first thing
you searched. He searched it while he was here. Okay, which one do you want me to click on?
I'm actually going to sources, buddy.
Yep.
Yeah.
Which one do you want me to click on?
Yeah, click on the first one. New York Times. New York's migrant crisis. 600 days
of chaos. Now, is this going to cite a source that shows the where
you want a source from a source?
Wait,
is that what you want?
Hold on.
No, now you don't understand how it works. Now you've never read this article. So what your claim, right, was that there are too many brown people in the south side of Chicago. So when we open up this article, your claim needs to be backed up by the data in this article. That is how it works.
Yeah, it is. My data.
Now, real quick, I'm having.
Does New York's migrant crisis have anything to do with the south side of Chicago? I don't even need to click on this to know that this is not going to work for your claim.
Oh, it is.
We need to move on, sir.
They bust migrants all over the country, and here you go.
Hold on.
Nearly 70,000 migrants.
I'm going to mute you now. So you got muted. Just so you know, you're muted. The claim that you made was that you could prove that the people in the south side of Chicago were here illegally, and what you have provided for your source is an article about New York City. Do you recognize?
No.
Do you recognize how that doesn't?
No, because I could find you. I can find you so many articles in Chicago.
Then why didn't you? Then why did you choose one from a different city?
Because right now we're looking at New York City. I can go to Chicago.
We're looking at Chicago, sweetheart. We're looking at Chicago. So why didn't wait? Be quiet. Be quiet. Be quiet. Be quiet. Why didn't you pick one about Chicago?
Oh, I can easily. Chicago's got even more of a problem.
Why didn't you? Why'd you choose New York?
We can do it. Let's do it right now.
Great. Why'd you choose New York?
Let's do it.
Why did you choose New York?
Oh, it's okay.
Why did you choose New York?
Doesn't matter.
Why did you choose New York?
You can do California.
This is so embarrassing for you.
You're actually losing the argument.
Stop talking. No. Why'd you choose New York?
Why? Why? When you?
Why?
I could choose so many states.
I know what you could do. Why did you choose New York? I'm not asking what other options you could have chosen. I'm asking you specifically why you chose New York.
Because I could pick any state out of the hat. I could pick any state out of the hat.
Why did you choose New York?
New York, Chicago, California. What do you want to do? What do you want to look at?
Chicago is what we were looking at. So why'd you choose New York?
Let's do it. Let's look at Chicago.
Okay, let's do it. Let's do it.
Now he needs a second to Google
on, guys,
Chicago immigration crisis.
You want a source,
okay, guys, right? I gotta get a source here. I realized that I've switched cities, but now I'm gonna Google Chicago instead of New York, and now I'm gonna provide you evidence that the people that I talked to, all dozens of them were here illegally. All right, go ahead.
Look at how bad you're losing. Look at the
your coins. Look at your coins, dude. Look at your coins.
You guys, if this man is losing, please put a 1 in the chat. We'll just figure it out for you. We'll figure it out. If this man is losing, please put a 1 in the chat.
You know, I wanted to come up with an original point, which was...
Unfortunately, you repeated everybody else's points instead and provided no data. So I don't care about whatever you're about to say. Where is the data of Chicago and the people in Chicago that are there illegally that are homeless? What percentage? Pull me the data on that. Just give me the data on that. Just stop talking and give me the data on that.
You don't want New York anymore. You want Chicago, correct?
You brought up Chicago.
You started with Chicago. Your own claim. You said you knew us. You had a friend who could kind of speak Spanish, and he had surveyed people on the mean streets of the south side of Chicago. And because of that, those interviews, you were able to extrapolate from that that there was a problem in the south side of Chicago. And we wouldn't make a ridiculous claim like that. So that was your claim. So now you need to provide a source that backs up that ludicrous claim. Go ahead.
I'm giving you the source right now. Okay, right on the top of Google, this is not even in the links. Ready? There has been an ongoing effort to get migrants out of Chicago police stations and into shelters. So far, more than 13,000 migrants are in the shelters across the city, and that's not even on the street. So far, there are more at the CPD.
Wait, hold on. So you just gave me numbers that don't include people on the street.
Yes, exactly.
People on the street, and you gave me numbers of people who specifically don't live on the street.
He can't do it. He can't do it. This is beyond his capacity.
That don't live in shelters, actually.
And did you hear when he said that this problem doesn't affect him because he's skilled labor? This man's mind, he's claiming that this brain is skilled labor. Like, it's hilarious.
Actually, high skilled labor.
Like, bro, you understand? You said people on the street.
It's extra high skilled labor.
Yeah, you gave me numbers of. Shut up. Hold on. You gave me numbers of people not on the street. Do you get that?
No, I gave you shelters. I gave you the amount of people in the shelters.
What did it say? Read it again, dog. Read it again.
Problem. Here we go, dog.
Read it again, dog. Read it again,
dog. Here we go, dog. I know you're upset and I know you're emotional, but here we go. There has been an ongoing effort to get the migrants out of Chicago police stations and into shelters. Top of Google. So far,
are you listening? Nobody was ever on the street in this scenario.
So they were inside. Wait, be quiet. Yep. They were inside police stations, and they want to move them to shelters.
Yeah, they're actually.
So these are not people. These are not people that are living on the street.
They are
living in the police. No, they're living in the police.
No, because you haven't lived in Chicago, so
now they're moving them to shelters.
No, they're actually sleeping outside of churches on the street.
That's not what the source that you're reading to us says. Yes, but again, you don't understand how this works.
Right.
You made a very specific claim. Now you're presenting us allegedly with a source that would back up that claim, but you are reading an article that has nothing to do with the original claim you made. You are embarrassing and you're wasting everyone's time.
Well, Google will tell you exactly how many migrants are.
Why are you so bad? Wait, shut up.
Police stations right
Nobody
now.
cares. Shut up.
I know you don't care. Yeah, it's facts.
No, it's not facts. Hey, Duffy,
it is.
You read me an article that doesn't prove your point at all, and now you're telling us to Google it. The first time I asked for a source, you said, me and my friends did surveys, and then you brought up a study about New York City. And now you finally got back to Chicago, and what you're talking about is people who the city is housing. They're housing them, and they're trying to find a place to house them, but they're already housing these people. And so you're not talking about people that are living on the streets, the very people that you surveyed.
Here
With
we
my
go.
friends, we just went through and we said, are you
No
here
problem.
legally or illegally? Thank
No problem.
you. Thank
No
you.
problem. I'll give you that data right now. Ready? ABC,
Thank you.
ABC 7 Chicago. It's actually a left wing. Platform.
Fourth source,
Here we
fourth
go.
time's
Ready?
the charm.
Here's the source.
Fourth time's the charm.
ABC7chicago.com/migrants in Chicago. Here we go. How many are US immigrant? That's the link, right? City scrambling to determine next steps for migrants in Chicago after camp is scrapped by state. Here we go. Ready? Let's see. Oh, the site.
Wait, hold on. Stop.
You don't
Be
wanna hear
quiet. Yeah, no, because I swear
It
to
has
God, you
nothing
can't
to
hear
do
what
with
you're
your
reading.
claim. Do you hear what you're
Oh.
saying? Do you
The
remember
state
your
had
claim?
the state had a plan to house them, and then it got scrapped. So now they're trying to find a different place to house them.
Yeah, and now I'm going to give you data, and now I'm going to give you the hard data.
Okay.
Yeah, here we go.
I doubt you know
Yeah.
how hard it is.
Is that a sexual reference? Is that
It was, yeah. It was an
deviated
incel
your brain
reference.
is?
Yeah, it was an incel reference.
Here we go. Of more than 30,000 migrants on the street in Chicago. Hold on. Got it. There we go.
Just sound it out. Sound it out. You could do it. You could do
Big
it.
word. You found
Come
a
to the
big
city
word.
since August 2022 show no signs of abating. You are absolutely incorrect.
Wait,
Your
wait.
Okay,
Hold on.
no, you didn't
just
do
said
anything.
30
You
You
haven't
just
done-
said
you didn't do
30,000
anything.
migrants came to Chicago. You're still not identifying how many of them are housed versus
Since
unhoused.
2000
You're
since
still no,
2022.
you're not cut out for this, pal. I go back
Oh.
to Reddit where like it makes sense for you, or play
not on
Roblox,
Reddit.
or like whatever you do, video
left
games. You're
wing.
not
I'm
cut
not on
out
Reddit.
for this. You're
Yeah.
not cut out for this. You showed up with a lot of confidence, and you should be leaving with none. You did not give any ammunition to any of
And
your
I'm giving you
arguments.
another link.
And so I'm gonna let you go now because I
know you-
stayed late. I stayed 20 extra minutes because I thought at some point that dude would get to a point.
Well, here's the problem though, because there is an immigration crisis in this country, right? And we all, if you listen to our lives, we talk about that. That's what we're talking about, is how to deal with that we need to imminently deal with it. But the Republicans are dragging their feet on it. And when you have these disingenuous gotcha moments where you are just some guy who's racially profiling people on the streets of Chicago, have no data, don't want to talk about actual policy or issues, then you derail people who actually identify that there's an immigration crisis at the border in sanctuary cities that needs to be dealt with. You have no information. You just know that you see a lot of brown people and it's upsetting to you.
I'd like to clarify that I thought he was talking about the town of Bridgeport. Apparently, there's a community called Bridgeport. Now, I am going to go ahead and guess that this person is lying about being from Chicago. Also lying about, they said they were currently living in Columbia. I probably don't believe any of that, but even if it is
Of
true,
course not.
yeah, even if it, because it's always south side
He
of Chicago,
was going to try to
right?
talk about the economies in South American countries, which are all suffering. The fact you would even try to make that argument just shows absolute ignorance.
The world is struggling. The world post-COVID, every economy is struggling, but specifically the countries who don't have a great deal of wealth. Those countries are specifically struggling, and that's a lot of South America.
But I just don't want to, like, what just happened. I just want to say that has nothing, like, if anyone ever wants to come up here and have a good faith discussion about solutions and real policy for the border and discuss that, or immigration in general, those conversations need to be happening and we welcome them, right? But just being disingenuous and making bigoted statements and having no data to back that up is unacceptable.
Yeah, we're going to ask for that. And I am going to cut off people who think they can come up and narrativize something. If you're going to narrativize something and you're not going to back it up, like, yeah, I'm going to cut you off every single time. I think that information is important, and I think well-sourced information is important. And I don't think that we need to platform people who are just going to tell a story. I don't care about your story, dude. I don't. You're remarkably not informed. And all we want to know, if you're going to narrativize something, do it with data. Give us data. Like, we understand that we have to put pieces together and you have to create a story. We do it every single day, but you have to do it with some sort of data point. And that was just silly. That was all sorts of silliness. And I nothing makes me happier than when somebody asks Felice and myself, would you know anything about South America? Because at that point, I just get to sit back and Felice gets to feast, which is fun.
And you know what, in that, I just to bring this home, because this is a really good, let me just look up the article again and throw it out there, because it just has a lot of really good information. Here it is. Let me just click on this article I was quoting from earlier. Biden pledged to shut down border points to policy shortfalls, right? And this has to do with talking about shutting down the border, like once there's 5,000 asylum claims a day, all of this. But another interesting point talks about an initiative that the Biden administration already put into place, which is in creating jobs and enriching Central American countries' economies. And they are talking about how in countries like Guatemala, they've seen fewer people showing up at the southern border because of a Kamala Harris initiative to create jobs and stabilize those economies. And that is what we are preaching. The long-term solution for this is us enriching South American, Central American, and Mexican economies so that they have a safe, stable environment to stay in. That's how we stop people from showing up at the southern border.
Solutions, like demonizing immigrants. It's not a useful endeavor. We want solutions. And look, kudos to Congress, who finally got off their ass and is trying to do something about it. But literally, fuck every MAGA in Congress who is doing everything they can to not solve this problem. At the end of the day, these are people. These are humans. It doesn't matter what country we're from. And I don't know why, like, America, of all places, a melting pot, a place, we have a statue sitting on an island saying, like, everybody's welcome. Like, bring us your huddled masses. Right, bring us everybody who needs help, anybody who needs shelter. Like, that's what our country was founded on, and we've turned into like the most thin-skinned pussies who think that, like, with this this idea that, like, if we take care of other people, there will be less for us. We're not doing anything about the people that are unhoused right now, because we have a lot of people who don't want to take care of that problem. It's not because of the government. It's not because we don't have the money. We could fix the unhoused problem in an instant. We could just tax billionaires for it, but we're unwilling to do that. We're unwilling to be uncomfortable. We're unwilling to make uncomfortable decisions. And rather than make uncomfortable decisions and admit that our system isn't perfect, what we do instead is we just demonize immigrants. We demonize people who put yourselves in their position. Put yourselves in a position where you will do anything possible to take care of yourself and your family. These are people who've oftentimes migrated hundreds of miles, maybe thousands of miles, just trying to look for a safe place for either themselves or their family. Those are not people we should demonize. We have plenty of money. We can take care of them and our people, but it starts with fixing a corrupt system. And that's the real difference between Republicans and Democrats. Republicans are unwilling to fix a corrupt system, which has put so many people in a bad position. And Democrats are willing to say, like, hey, we fucked this up. Like, we've got it. We need to reverse it. That's the big difference between the two parties, is the inability to take accountability for what we have done as a country and reverse it. Republicans can't even admit that they were wrong, that, like, our country didn't do things that were wrong. And that's what's really sad. And it's turned into a divided United States where we have half the country just terrified of brown people and demonizing brown people because we're unable to admit that, like, our system isn't great.
And Saoirse, yeah, the answer to all of the people, the real people with asylum claims who are flooding sanctuary cities, is we need more immigration judges, but not just judges. We have to create a situation where more immigration officials can move these asylum claims through the courts faster than 1 to 2 years. And until that occurs, which is what part of the $14 billion and what the Senate Republicans and Biden are negotiating, until that occurs, we're going to have people sitting in sanctuary cities for years, which Biden wanted to give them work visas, right? So they're not getting handouts. And he was sued. So they can't work. We were trying to give them work visas. So the unskilled labor jobs, that the millions of unskilled labor jobs we have in this country, they could do. But Mayorkas, the Department of Homeland Security, was sued, and we couldn't do that. So
285. Thank you guys so much. Felice, wonderful outline today. Wonderful debates today. I liked the fire today. I like when people make you mad when it's not me. I'm a big fan of that.
whatever. Okay, thanks,
Okay,
guys.
we'll
See you guys
in the
tomorrow.
morning. Thanks.